All right, we're live. Here we are. Pankration Philosophy here again.
Back for another one.
Yep, with another returning guest. Gracious Vincent Lee.
Yes.
I'm Pocholo Cruz,
Scott McDonald.
as always. And welcome back, Vincent. What's been happening?
What's been happening?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like are you doing not work at Globo Gym?
You know, I sold out to the man and now I just shuffle supplements. Just push those fucking supplements. Do you work at LA Fitness now? Are you the guy that knows where the steroids are? Or at least be the guy that knows the guy that knows where the steroids are.
There we go.
Or are you a receptionist at a chiropractor?
My back really hurts. I can't tell you shit about that, but I can't book you an appointment.
Yeah, man. Yeah, book your appointment. Hey, just for steroids.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm over here looking like every 5th grade PE fucking instructor right now.
No,
or at least 5th grade soccer coach.
Fifth grade soccer coach. You need to whistle.
Yeah, if I had a whistle, it would be complete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, let's get some hustle.
It's this that makes me look like that. I put it on and I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, I literally look like all my coaches from 1st grade to 5th grade.
No, that's the thing.
Good job, Tim. I don't know why I use Tim's name. Good goal. Get you an orange slice and some Capri Sun.
Yeah. But I feel like a 5th grade, like you're not teaching them anything. You just have to herd them around.
Yeah.
And
then scream every once in a while.
Yeah.
But me, I'd be that over intense 5th grade coach. This is about life and death. This isn't just about a goal. This is about success.
Yeah. No, I just picture you like giving this whole intense speech, and then it pans out, and it's just some 10-year-old.
I just show up to the field dressed as General Patton. Giant American flag behind
giant
me.
American flag, and then you have to have the pointer. All right, we gotta go in there and crush the enemy.
All right, so it's 6 on 6, and so we need the wings to be situated. We gotta win this fucking game. But yeah, man, we're glad to have you back on.
This is good. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, since our last podcast, you had an MMA fight.
I did.
And I was actually in the corner.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I mean, walk us through just post-fight. Like, what are your thoughts? Like, where are you at mentally, spiritually, all that, emotionally, after that performance?
Yeah. No, it's a good question, or a good topic, I guess. So the fight was about a month ago now, I think.
Yeah, I believe it was August 10th, I want to say.
10th or 11th, something around there.
Yeah.
So it's been about a month, and so I pretty much, for the most part, I've just been like hanging out this month. Like I've worked out a little bit, which is good.
At the gym.
Yeah.
At Globo Gym. Not Global, it's Globo.
Globo Gym. We're better than you. But okay.
No, but like I've been working out a little bit. Showed up to AMC a couple times, stuff like that. But yeah, so I've mostly just been doing stuff light and stuff like that, just trying to recover. No, I think the main thing about the fight, as far as like how I feel about it, I mean, to be honest, like I don't like the result. I'm disappointed in, obviously, because I was stopped in the 3rd round. But the whole the actual fight itself and the build, the day of dealing with that, it was actually really fun. Yeah, no, that's the one thing where
I was worried because when I got there, I was like, James was calm, that was to be expected, and then Jay wears his anxiety just very,
more so,
very in an interesting way. But I was like, fucking Vince is way too fucking calm.
Yeah.
I was like for me, I was nowhere to be found before the fight. Like, I'm not talking to anybody really, or if I am, I'm just pacing around.
It's like you're there, but you're not really.
If there's a grassy field outside of the fucking venue, I'm out there meditating with
Scott
with the spirits.
Plants of grass.
Yeah. But no, you were calm and.
No, that was one thing I was happy with because fight week I was definitely stressed out, but I think that was normal too.
Because it was 2 weeks notice, right?
Or 1 week, yeah.
1 week notice.
Yeah.
Hey, you ready? All right, good.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty much what it is with these amateur fights.
Yeah. Well, it's funny how I found out I was going to fight, because I was getting ready. I was getting ready to fight on that date, but, for quite a while. But as more time was going on, in my mind, I was kind of I'm going to keep training, but honestly, I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then,
so
I was at Bronte's birthday.
Yeah.
And then I get a message on Facebook from Matt, and he's just like...
It's a Friday evening.
Yeah, it's a Friday evening.
He's about to eat dinner.
Yeah. And then I get a message from Matt, and he's like, "Oh, are you still interested in fighting on the card next week?" And I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, oh, because I get the butterflies.
Can you describe what that feeling's like? Because when you get any type of communication from Matt when you're in active competition, it's just. I have a reaction. What was your reaction?
Oh, it was probably similar to what you're thinking it would be.
It's like, it's like,
yeah.
And everything else, all the material world crumbles, and you're just looking at your phone like, I'm gonna fight.
Yeah.
So, dude, it's so intense because my first MMA fight, this was your second, right?
Yeah.
My first MMA fight was on a day's notice.
So how did that happen?
No, wait. I just helped. Did you ever meet Kyle Murphy?
Yes.
So I just helped Big Murph. I helped Kyle Murph, who was 205er and was my main training partner.
Okay, I think I've heard about you talk about this
Yeah. I called him the conglomerate. Yeah. But he, I helped him cut weight. He made weight, and then we're out eating, and I'm sitting there, and Drew comes in, and he like walks up to me. He's like, "Hey, Matt's on the phone. He has a fight for you at 140. Okay. Do you want to take it?" And I was like, "Just give me a second," because my anxiety, because this was my first MMA fight, like a cloud of anxiety just like crushed on my psyche. And Torian Black Washington was like across the table from me at this. I don't even remember what restaurant it was, but we're sitting there.
But had Kyle made weight already?
Kyle made weight. We were done, and then we went and weighed in at West Coast. And remember, you know that gym down south when you pass like when you're getting close to Renton.
Oh yeah.
It's where the Tiger Sharks used to train out of Murray Smith. That's where the weightings were being held.
Okay. Oh, so like West Coast old location, right?
Old West Coast fight team.
Before
Not before they went way down south.
Yeah, you're talking about the one. Yeah, the one that was like right near that one. It was near like a Denny's, I remember, something like that.
Yep, right near Denny's.
Yeah.
So they were in Renton for a while.
Yeah, they were in Renton. I think they moved.
Because remember the IFL had that whole like they were trying to make beating the shit out of each other like the NBA.
Yes,
they're trying to make
exactly
trying to make it respectable.
That's what he's talking about. The Maurice. So Maurice had a team called the Tiger.
Yeah, I remember the IFL. Yeah, like they had like a little thing for a while.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, because of. I'm just like anxious personality type. I'm like, think about all these scenarios, and Torian looks at me and he's like, I'll never fucking forget. He's like, "You gonna take that fight? You gonna take that fight?" And I was like, "All right, man." And I looked at Drew. I was like, "Yeah, I'll take it." And Drew, Torian looks and he's like, "Oh," and he was talking about my opponent. He goes, "Oh, poor little Tink Tink." He was like, "Poor little Tink Tink," and he was like, "I feel bad for you. You're gonna fight, man." He's like, "Just don't go to the ground and knock him out." And I won by knockout first round. But anyway, I just tell that story just for sake of comparison because it's like short notice.
Yeah.
It's almost like how was your react? What was your thinking when it was on short notice the week of? Was there hesitation or did you just?
No, I mean there's like a little bit of hesitation. I think that's normal just because like that anxiety hits you and you're just like, whoa, okay, like. And then in my mind I was like looking at that message and I was like, well, wait, what do I? I was like, what do I say? Like, and then I was thinking, like, what do I say? And then I look at like Pocholo and Joel and everyone, and they're just like talking, doing whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, do I tell them that I just got this message? Like, what do I? And I was like, and then I was like, oh hey guys, like look at this.
Yeah.
And then everyone was pretty excited. And they're like, oh dude, what are you gonna say? And I was like, well, I guess I'll say yes. So, yeah. So.
And can you describe like that? Like what accepting a fight? Like what is? Was it just okay? That's it. Not much other than that.
I mean, just anxiety, just like nervousness, because that night I got pretty nervous. But I think that's normal. So
do you remember like? Could you contrast that to how you heard about your first fight?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So how was? Because you said, I mean, you already said that that you enjoyed yourself in this one.
Yeah.
Could you, I guess, contrast how the second outing was different than the first outing.
Yeah, I think so. Overall, like the first one. This first one was like back in 2011.
Yeah, 2011.
It was a while ago. But like that one, I was just super nervous. Like
Yeah.
nervous the whole way. It was just like, it was, yeah, I think, it was nervous for a lot of reasons. I think the biggest reason was just because that was my first one.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to really expect.
Yeah.
And no one around me had fought really before.
I think that's another thing because like had you ever watched an amateur fight before?
No, and that was a big thing.
Yeah,
like,
and did you you didn't have any teammates that had competed in amateur fights?
Yeah, and I think that like just having people like one like now, like, because I've seen the amateur events and stuff like that, and now and stuff like that, and just going, and I have teammates that go fight, and so just to see kind of how that whole process works out.
Mm-hmm. You had been through it a couple times, not yourself, but watching others go through it.
Exactly.
So you understand what it entails.
And then for this one, obviously, because I had fought before, it's like, okay, I kind of know what I'm getting into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, so you get nerves, but it wasn't anything horrible.
Yeah, and I guess there wasn't there was an expectation that you may have competed on that card.
Yeah. So I was like, and I knew I was ready for it because I've been training for it.
Preparing for it.
Yeah, so it's just like, well, it's not really a reason for me not to take it. So I was just like, yeah, let's do it because this is what I want to do. So, yeah.
Yeah, and so you got ready. I mean, there's not much preparation you do the week of. It's just all mental.
It's all mental
at that point.
Yeah.
You're really calm at the venue, and then kind of walk us through the fight itself. Like, how was that different from the last one? I was in the corner, so I have all sorts of different insights, things you probably didn't see. That
for sure. Yeah, I got. Yeah, there's a lot of things I don't think I saw. So. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Anyway, so go ahead.
It wasn't like the straight right. Was it a straight right or left hook that he clipped you with?
There was a left hook he landed on me, which I didn't see coming, but I think it was like an overhand right or something. That was one that dropped
at the end, overhand.
Yeah, that was one that dropped me, and that one,
I just gotta say, we'll go back to what I asked, but I didn't think I just looked like you lost your balance. I was like, he's okay. I was like, Vince is fine.
No. So, there's a story behind that. So, like, in my mind, because, like, so that when that overhand light landed, that whole situation, I have zero memory of. So I remember the actual, like, when the ref stepped in and everything. I remember that, and that I remember feeling like I lost my balance a little bit, but I was okay. I got hit hard, but I felt like I was okay. But it's like, it's amateur, so if someone stops the fight, I'm not really going to complain because it's amateur. And then so later, like Matt and Manny and other people were like, oh, like, you're okay, do you remember everything? And I thought I remembered everything. And so I was like, yeah, I remember everything. And then, like, later, Joel sent me the video, and I watched it, and I was like, oh, yeah, that part, the knockdown, I have zero memory of that whatsoever. Like, in my mind, I just remember, like, something had happened where I ended up on the ground, and then so I just remember standing up, hand fight, and stuff like that. That's all I remember doing, and then turning around. But the actual knockdown itself, and that part I have no memory of. So,
what was kind of your recollection of like the first round? Or
the first round, I remember. Well, actually, it's funny. I remember walking into the cage, and then I remember like looking at my opponent, and he was like pretty amped up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I remember like I just remember thinking like, he's pretty amped up. That's kind of cute, I guess. Something like that. And like, it's like a competitive thing. So like now, like I think now if I was to describe that, that's not the word choice I would use. But in the moment, like that's kind of what I.
You're kind of like whatever.
Yeah, just kind of like okay, like, that's cool. And yeah, no, the first round I remember. One thing I remember was like, because in my first fight, I think one thing that surprised me was just like the realness of someone really trying to take you out. So that was something that surprised me in my first fight. So in this fight, like I kind of was like, all right, well here we go. And then eventually I remember the guy landed a right hand and I felt it and I was just like, oh okay, this is all right. And so like I was able to deal with that much better. And I was like, oh, here we go. So
because you had experienced it before.
Yeah.
So I remember because I was watching it through like Jacob.
Oh yeah, you were here.
Yeah, Jacob had it on FaceTime, and I was watching it on the East Coast.
I gotta say something. I asked Sean to record for you.
Yeah.
I was like, hey Sean, would you mind recording for Trello? And he's like, no man, I just don't think I can do that. I was like, why? He's like, man, I just gotta live my life. And I was like, are you a fucking teenager? I hope he sees that too. And I just was like,
no, because I asked him straight up, like, no, man, I want to watch the fights. I'm like, all right, Sean.
He's like, I just, gotta live my life. He's like, do you have a carefree philosophy?
Yeah.
Where it's like, you can't hold a phone like this?
I'm waiting for the day, Sean, if you're watching this, I'm waiting for the day you ask me for something. And I'll be like, no, I just gotta live my life.
Bro, like if some real shit ever happens and you need actual assistance, I'll be like, dude,
it's like,
for that one indiscretion.
Yeah, it's like, Pocholo, you're the only matching blood type to Sean Williams. Like, will you donate? I'm like, nah, bro, I just gotta live my life. Are you sure you donate?
You're gonna walk away with a chalupa in your hand.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And meat spilling out of the chalupa.
No, man.
Maybe he just doesn't have data. He's like,
well, I don't want to tell them I don't have data, so like I just he was I don't know.
He's like, my data plan is fucking horrible. So rather than do that, I'm gonna say the most asshole thing I can.
Because like I know for me, like I only have a limited amount of data, so like I'm not gonna like scream stuff.
What did Sean watch too many My Little Ponies and didn't want to share why? Oh no.
That's funny. Going after. But you were watching.
I'm watching it, so I'm watching it through like grainy footage. But what I see is the guy charges at Vincent, right? Like, oh man, this guy's starting real fast.
Yeah.
And then
he just came out hard.
Came out hard. Came out like his hair was on fire.
Yeah. No, I remember he got me up against the cage, and I think he got me down with a single. He got me down with a single leg. Mm-hmm. He landed a couple of good shots on the ground that were hard, but I remember thinking just kind of like, okay, like I can take these shots and stuff like that. Like I don't want to, but like okay, boom, boom. I'm not getting stressed out.
Adrenaline's a hell of a drug.
Yeah. So, no, I remember. I think it was in the first round where there was like overall like how I feel about the fight. Like there were some good reactions that I had, but. Mm-hmm. They were here. They needed to be up here, if that makes sense. So,
right.
Like by that, do you mean like in terms of intensity?
But just I think in terms of intensity, intensity, executing a little bit earlier.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And trusting it a little bit more, and then having, I think reactions that happen after that. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Like I felt like there was a start of a couple things that were good, but then they didn't get executed fully.
Okay, so I think in terms of I guess if you're comparing to like volume, you were kind of I guess like volume like in terms of sound, like you were here, but it needed to be like a little bit more.
Yeah, it needed to
get what you wanted.
It needed more. Yeah. And like there's a couple examples that I remember. Like I think it was in the first. He got me down.
Yeah.
And then I had like butterfly hooks in or something like that, and he started to sink his weight down.
Yeah, tried to hip in.
Yeah, he started to hip in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was like one thing like during the Woodley Till fight. That's why I remember that.
Because I know you're saying because it's something that doesn't happen in straight grappling. Yeah. Because there's no way for you to really do it unless you're creating a platform to hit.
Exactly. Yeah. And then so like there, I remember I got my hips up, and eventually I got wrist control, like both my wrist control on him.
Yeah.
And then so like things are like, all right, this is where I want to be. Like I was going to go someplace, and then like to nothing. Like there was nothing that happened after that.
Right.
So like things like that, where it's just like, okay, I need to be able to drill in reactions a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
There was that. There was one point, and I think this might have been in the second. I don't remember. He got me up against the cage again. His head was here, and I got my hand here, and I was going to turn his face, and I could hear like Matt saw what I was going to do, and I could hear him clear, just like rotate his face,
cross face, yeah.
And like this is the same thing that you showed like a long time ago.
Yeah,
the face lock.
The face lock against the cage. And so I got that, and then like I tried a little bit, and then I felt like and I just kind of gave it up, and then he took me down. And then, but when I look back, I'm just like, oh, you know what? Like that's a situation where like I just didn't believe in it enough, if that makes sense. Like I just did this, but I didn't. My whole body.
You didn't commit to it.
Exactly. I didn't commit enough to it.
Yeah. If I only recall bits and pieces because it's been a while and other things occupy my mind.
Yeah.
But I do remember, as far as like a generalized statement on your fight, it's like I remember there were a couple times you were like rallying on him just with hands because you weren't because the thing in the corner in the corner
I was like going all in on these right hands
multiple right hands 1-2-1-2 and I think it was just that it's that next step, that next evolution for you as a martial artist is just that believing in your techniques and believing in that. Because the conversation we had prior to you competing, I don't know if you remember it or not, was about how you had a couple rough sparring sessions where you were getting hit and then you were just beating yourself up like, man, I'm just getting hit a lot and I'm getting frustrated. Yeah. And so you pushed through that. I saw you in live competition push through that frustration. And it's like having, I use the analogy of like, it's like a roadmap essentially. Like, if you have more experience, yours is going to have more pathways, it's going to have more territory, it's going to have more indicators for you to know where to go. If you're still kind of in your early stages, it's going to have less territory. Yeah. So it's like that. A big thing to take away from your fight was just that you had the aggressive tendency, and we didn't have to yell that at you from the corner. Yeah. We didn't have to really over and over again go get after it. You were circling properly, but you weren't like backing so far out that you weren't engaging. And I know other guys in our amateur team have had problems with that. They float too much. They don't engage.
Yeah, I think like there was a part of me, because maybe like a month prior or something like that. Like there was a point where like I started to try to use more footwork, fight on the outside, jab, like be able to jab, back up.
Yeah.
And like trying to use my reach
just trying
a little bit better.
Fight more. Yeah.
And so that's something that like I've been working on, and I wanted to try to display that during the fight, but there was a part of me too that felt like, and I kind of knew this like going into it, but I also think there's some hindsight bias where it's just like, yeah, you know, like I'm just gonna go in and fight, and then whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen.
And in a lot of cases, that's the best mentality.
Yeah.
I want to kind of throw something in there to think about. If you were to like describe how you were thinking in there to like someone that's never done it, like it's never
like how I was thinking in there, or like what I was
like
feeling.
what is it? What is, if you can recall, what is it when you're like on the stool or you're someone hack our shit?
Yeah.
When you're like,
CIA.
So like these guys aren't talking about shit yet again.
Yeah.
But if you were to have to describe like what's the feeling like of like, you know, getting in there and then going forward, like what are you feeling during the exchanges? If that's clear.
No, for sure. I think it's a very unique feeling. I would say like it's a very like, you feel very like exposed but also free, if that makes sense, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's like a similar feeling to like when I would do the smoker kickboxing events and stuff like that. Even though like that, it's not really a fight per se, although it can kind of escalate to that. It's not quite the same, but yeah, it's just it's a very freeing feeling. You feel like anything can kind of happen. I don't know, it's very intense, but at the same time, you're not thinking very much.
No.
You're just kind of just going. So.
And that's what's weird for me is like, when I would compete, it's just like, there's moments that I do recall, and then there's things I just don't.
Oh, yeah.
And I would try to explain that to people afterward. They're like, well, when you did this, why did you do that? I'm like, dude, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. I'm just in there. I'm so fully engaged in the moment that I'm just reacting, you know? And yeah, it's like you talk about it being, I remember Dustin Poirier talked about it in a Fightville documentary where he said it's like a pure experience, you know? It's just like this raw sort of like energies that are clashing, you know? And it's crazy. It's crazy to like have done that. You know?
Yeah, it's definitely different,
Yeah.
So, it's good though. I mean, it's like one of those things where like, there's a part of me where like after the fight, because like I did get injured in the fight, although I'm recovering pretty well. It's like one of those things where like, I was like, man, this is so much fun. This is so awesome. Like, but then like that, I just wish that like something like this, you didn't have to like, you wouldn't get messed up potentially and things like that, because it's so awesome. Like the whole, like even Fight Week, I didn't enjoy Fight Week. That was actually that was the most stressful thing I think overall.
Fight Week.
Yeah, Fight Week.
Well, because it's like, how can you have to really calm yourself down, but how can you? It's like when I would work retail and then work a week of retail or 2 days of retail before I would fight on Saturday. Yeah. It's like, I'm like, hey, you want to buy these speakers? And in the back of my head, it's like, there's some motherfucker out there that's going to try to knock you out from your family. And you're just like,
yeah. You should like, you say that out loud as the guy's like, I'm like, hey, I can get you a good deal on this, you know, but also 2 days, some guy's trying to kill my head.
Would you like to buy the QC25s and would you like an extra accessory with that? Not that it really matters because on Saturday, some guy's going to try to knock me out in front of my family.
Yeah.
But it's a weird...
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Yeah. With work, I'm lucky that like the people that I work with, they know that this is something that I do and they're fine with it. So like, I don't know. And it worked out that I wasn't too busy that week too. But
well, you go... What type of job do you do?
I do digital analytics consulting.
So, okay.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about like...
it's a different
Let's
world.
talk about roles and, you know, just like, I don't know, roles and identities.
Yeah.
You go from data analytics to cage fighter on a Saturday, and then back to data analytics.
I'm back on Monday.
Yeah.
It's like I was fucking sales specialist, cage fighter on Saturday, and then it's a weird sort of of tension to hold. Like, did you work the week after the fight?
Yeah.
What was that like? Like,
I don't know, it's just normal. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
It is weird though. Like if I sit and think, and like I'm aware, like it's normal, but like I'm also aware that this is like not the norm. So.
Oh well, what is normal though? I feel like people can adapt to a lot of things, you know. And if it's not that regular. Because I remember one time I fought and then I went, like, I think I picked up, like, my fiance at the airport or something.
Oh, dude, I remember. That was,
everyone's all like, hey, you want to celebrate? Like, yeah, whatever. I don't really care.
Dude, and then I remember, like, I think you had left, and we were waiting, I think, for someone else. Like, some time had passed, and I remember talking to Sean, and I was like, so wait, are we going anywhere? He's like, dude, I think Pacholo's gone.
yeah. And then, I think, but it's true. I think what Scott's getting at about the whole, like, the whole experience of it, because it's very, I guess it's very visceral, you know? Yeah. It's like, it's in, if I could try to describe it, it's almost like, I would say it's like being in the eye of a storm that only you can. It's because it's very isolating, but yet you're on like a raised kind of platform, and you're only focusing on actions happening at you. Whereas like I feel like you're aware that there's a world around you, but it doesn't matter at that time, and that's why people talk about tunnel vision and stuff like that. Or I feel like if you're ever in I guess like in a wind tunnel, it's like there's all this stuff around you, but the only thing you can really focus on is what's ahead. Yeah. And that's how I would describe it.
And it was so weird. I don't care how this sounds, going to be out there, you know. But it's like in the day-to-day interactions of like, especially for me being in the service industry, I don't know how data analytics is. I do work in kind of like an office job now. I know it's very alienating at some points, but in terms of working with people in the service industry and encountering like in human-to-human interactions, what you get is with some people you engage with, there's this underlying passive aggressiveness, like rudeness, disrespect. With some people, not all, or like you can tell when someone's trying to assert themselves over you in a really like manipulative way. Yeah. And so when you fight and you engage in unarmed combat, like for me, there would be days where I would just be listening to an irate customer complain about the most ridiculous thing, and it was mainly this was with men. So I'm talking a male-to-male engagement, and I'm just sitting there thinking like, I could just fucking choke you unconscious right now. Like, there was this primitive part of my brain that was like, you're saying all this shit, you're saying you're going to talk to my manager because I can't do this thing for you, you're acting entitled right now. And part of me just wanted to go, you know what, let's just go outside and figure this out real quick. I mean, and you can't say things like that because the law gets involved. There's this thing where that's when people interact with each other like that, that's a whole load of bullshit. And what happens in fighting is there's none of that. It's immediate results. I've said that before on this podcast. It's like, you know, and it is like, I mean, and there's women fighters too, but it's like just this, we overcome that shit that people do, you know. And so it was interesting going back to a retail setting and then like having like choked someone out, another like competitor, and then someone's like, well, you know, this headphone doesn't do this, and I could go over here and get this headset. What are you even doing? Do you even and just blah blah blah, and you're just like, you know, in Fight Club when they talk about the volume gets turned down. It was like
that's what's happening. Yeah, the volume gets turned down, but it's almost like it's similar. You're almost in like a very isolated thing. It's like a purge essentially, like, you know, the movie The Purge, where you're allowed to pretty much, you know, do whatever is in your power to try and take somebody out, and then you're supposed to just stop right now. Don't do that to anybody else. You know, from there, it's a pretty unique experience. Yeah. Because like we're like, oh, you're not supposed to do that to the rest of the people.
Well, because with the competitor, there's consent.
Yes.
And honestly, I know what my competitor is going to try to do, and that's a mutual agreement. Yeah. People out there who try to use their authority or passive aggressiveness, it's like they'll just try to fuck your life up, and so it's like they'll try to do everything to avoid that singular moment. You know, and it's just interesting to me, especially being in the professional world where it's like someone has said something to me and I'm just like, I had a scenario where someone said something to me and I was just like, you know I'll hit you with the left hook, right? And I just had to say it. I was like, that's in my wheelhouse. I know how to throw a left hook that can knock you out. So before we start doing all this shit, let's just... And it wasn't... it's not to be like tough or do that, but you get there where you're like... But the martial arts side of it tells us to like dial that down. Be humble. Don't be don't be passive though. I think that's another.
No, but it is interesting though how there's in our society there's a lot of posturing, but you know it's like it's for the sake of just appearing that you mean business when, you know, if it came down to it, it's like a lot of people are not about.
Jamie, pull up that study about how the chimps with the smallest balls make the most noise. Like that's what I feel like saying. No, but it's true because it's a very protected society for sure. Yeah, and so for you, like, you sound like you have a great mentality about this fight. Like you haven't even said you did come out on the losing end, but like, you know, you seem to be in good spirits. Was there any time where you kind of...
Oh yeah, I mean a little bit. I don't probably a little bit. Like this is like I think the day after I was like I don't care, like whatever. I feel like kind of what you were saying, but like there's like after like or when you're saying like it's like a purge or something like that.
Yeah.
There's definitely like a spiritual high for me that happens.
It's cathartic.
Yeah. So like the day after was great. For the most part, it was pretty good. But like I think there's definitely like you feel like negative emotions, stuff like that too. Like because one like I did get a concussion from the fight. Although I'm recovering like significantly better than the other time I got a concussion. I think I know how to deal with it a little bit better. And then also just like, there's times where I'm just like laying in bed and I'm just thinking like, oh fuck, I just lost, blah, 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 blah. Like all those type of thoughts. Like what does this mean? But then I think at the same time, like there's like everyone has bad things that happen in their life. And I think every time you have something like that happen, it gives you an opportunity to react better. Because I think, like it's what's going to help me just in general move forward. And like a lot of those negative emotions, like remembering them and kind of knowing what it feels like, that's a good thing. I think know what that feels like and having to be able to pull that out at certain times. But if it's dragging you down, things like there's a point where it's not helpful anymore. And it's just, if you can focus yourself in a way so where you just, it's just literally like I can choose what I want to focus on and stuff, like where my head's at. And so if I can just focus on more positive things are going to actually move me forward. And that's what, like, it just doesn't make sense to focus on things too negatively. So
yeah, it seems like a pretty different response than how you responded to your first.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like from there.
Yeah, first one I just was like, completely downward spiral. Like for 3 months, I was like, I'm done with training. This is stupid and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So
well, you became. Oh, go ahead.
No, I think yeah. So like maturity for sure has a lot to do with that. But what do you think? I guess is the big like. What other changes would you attribute that?
No,
like,
there's a lot.
Than the focus.
I think one thing is just like I'm in a better spot in life now. I think it's just in general, like, one, I don't know, like, the first time I fought, I was still, like, I think I had just turned 21, and, like, it's one of those things where I feel like everyone, when they look back when they were, like, in their early 20s, they're like, oh, yeah, dude, I was completely crazy. Like, the expectations are just what you were thinking and stuff like that.
I think it's crazy. I think it's also just not fully developed.
Yeah,
I feel like your psyche, you're still not quite sure.
Yeah,
not that you'll ever be quite sure, but like especially at that time.
Yeah. Well, you said something about how you talked about like defining meaning, and that's I think we don't reflect on that we are in charge of creating meaning. We can do that. Yeah. You can do that with an experience. Yeah. Now, in terms of like the bureaucracy of moving up, going into the professional realm and all that, wins and losses matter. Amateur not as much as pro. Yeah. But even within that, like, not a thing on your record, you can define it. And if you've defined it like a mature martial artist, what you just said there, it's like, okay, I know that this way of thinking isn't useful. I feel bad about it. I grieve it, but at the same time, I love it. I learned.
Because it's like, if it's already happened, there's nothing I can do to change the outcome, So it's like, it's already happened. So why am I sitting here? Like, I definitely could sit there and just wallow and just be like, oh no, like I suck, this is the end, blah, 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 blah. But does that do me any, like if I want to get someplace, does that do me any good? It doesn't. And so.
Well, talking about experiencing the loss or falling a little short is important. Like, I remember my first loss in combat sports was to Demetrius Johnson.
Who? Yeah, whatever.
And dude, I was heartbroken on multiple fronts because my team had put a lot of like, they thought I was going to beat him for the Muay Thai belt, and just beating him would have been this big deal.
Yeah, because like to fall short of your team's expectations.
And then my support system just wasn't, my head coach totally abandoned me and didn't like, he was barely trained with me anyway. He wasn't there to support me. He didn't give me a whole lot of, he didn't show up at the fight, and he didn't give me a whole lot of guidance after, so I kind of felt betrayed a little bit. But
was that kind of like wasn't that your last fight with that team? Or
Yep, it was. And then I eventually made the transition to AMC.
Yeah.
But my girlfriend at the time too, like, she had known, this is what made me mad, she had known for 3 weeks that I was preparing for this fight. Like, what I would do, I moved into my cousin's house before, just to focus. I didn't want any distractions. My cousin was like my conditioning coach and everything. Like, and we were just doing random exercises. He's like, bro, we gonna get this belt. I'm like, yeah, we gonna get it. Then we go to the weigh-ins up here at Liquid Lime.
Yeah, in Kirkland.
And it's all AMC guys, and DJ gets on the scale, and everyone's like, yeah. And then I get up there, and it's just my brother and my cousin.
Yeah.
But
Scott. Yeah.
But when I lost, dude, I was heartbroken. This Davis, Big D.
Yeah.
Big D.
Hey.
Coming in the podcast. What's up, bro?
Yeah. So anyway,
So she knew, right?
Yeah, you've been preparing for this for weeks.
And then I lose the fight, dude.
Yes.
And then like I call her, I'm hella emotional, like I'm choking. Yeah. And she's like, what happened? What happened? I was like, you know I fought today, right? She's like, oh, that was today? And I was like, I just fought Demetrius Johnson. Yeah. I just fought motherfucking Demetrius Johnson, the best fighter in Washington State. We didn't know he would go on to be a world champion, obviously.
Yeah, but that time he
became a champ.
Yeah, but I was just like, what the fuck? And then that week after, I was so disillusioned. And there's this, and I was listening to this Tupac song. It's called "If I Die Tonight." And at the beginning, and I remember I heard it because I was super depressed.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, it says, "A coward dies 1,000 deaths, a soldier dies but once." That's actually a quote from Huey Newton, who was a leader, one of the leaders of the Black Panther Party. Mm-hmm. And I thought about that, and I was like, what does that mean? And it's like, I could die this loss 1,000 times. I could constantly just dig up everything that went wrong, how I failed, blah, 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 blah. And I'm killing myself every day. I'm reflecting on that. Like what you just said, I'm not moving away from it. I'm not acknowledging, okay, I did learn, let's move forward. So just it's done, period, right? And I was able to get over that loss, my first loss, and then humble myself and go, you know what? DJ did things in that fight that had never been done to me in the gym anywhere. You know what I'm saying? So let me reach out to him and try to see if I can train with him. And then that changed my course. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's important to do what you did. It's like experience it, feel it, and then just throw that shit down the stairs and move on.
Yeah.
Because it happened, you know.
Yeah.
Don't die 1,000 deaths.
Well, and I think the big thing too for me is like I think like if this happened and I didn't in my mind I didn't feel like I had a clear path to improve, it just would result in frustration. Like, this happened, I don't know, but in my mind, like I feel like because before the fight I kind of knew there were some things I needed to work on. The fight happened. Those things I need to work on are still there, and there's some other things that pop up too. Mm-hmm. And so it's just like, cool. All right, I kind of know what I need to work on. I have a good team around me to help me improve and things like that, and so it's just like, okay, like this is. I feel like I have certain. There's a clear path forward, so which is good. So
that's good. I feel but I think the person needs to take. You know, they need to clear. I guess either clear their mind or like refocus on like what matters to them. Because I think especially, just depending on how you react to a loss. I mean, Scott was there for my first loss.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask you to tell you.
I reacted very poorly.
Dude, sure. You say poorly, I say it was hilarious.
It was hilarious.
You know the first thing that he said?
I actually don't know what this is.
I remember I said something like wanting to take his soul or something. Break his soul.
Pochola was rolling on the ground.
And he was on the ground crying, I remember.
He was like, no. He was like, no. And I was just looking at him, and he's like, I wanted to take his soul.
Yeah. I was so no, because I remember, because it was all the way. It was up in Arlington. I'm in a.
This is like when it was indoor soccer field.
Yeah, it was in an indoor soccer stadium. I remember. I collapsed. Like right, like outside, so it's like field turf, and I'm there rolling around. I remember that, like crying about something, and yelling, just like probably, I don't know,
just the anguish of the anguished soul of a warrior.
Yeah, and then I remember you guys were all just around, like huddled around.
And I was like,
let him.
It's okay. Like it's like you gotta let it go the way it's gonna go. It's just like. When you threw your trophy after the last one, after the last one, it's like everyone's like, "Oh, you know." I'm like, bro, just let him do it. Let him. If you're gonna throw the fucking trophy, let him throw it.
And it's and I think I think the biggest thing is just that I'm not that emotionally. I guess I don't know. I'm not that vocal, I guess, about my emotions usually. Yeah. And I feel like at that point, it's hard for me to really contain that.
Oh yeah.
And it's like. Yeah, and then and you were there too when I threw my trophy.
Oh yeah, I thought it was hilarious.
No, that's the thing. It's like, and it's
he launched that thing, and everyone's like, oh, and I'm just like,
well, because I'm just kind of like, that's just Pocholo being Pocholo. Like, I'm just like,
I get it, bro.
Yeah, that's the thing. No, and then that's too like me rolling around like that was me being myself too. It's like, but because it's such a moment of truth.
Oh yeah, that emotions are high.
Oh yeah, of course, emotions were high, and I felt that was important. I guess like at least in the first one to me to realize that, because I felt like I can't let it affect. I forget exactly. I don't know how Matt phrased it, but it's like, I think the biggest thing that it reminded me, it was like, I have to focus on like on what's important. It's like same thing like on you and Scott are saying like you can't dwell on outcomes, because like the outcome's not going to change no matter how much I think about it. Yeah. What I can change is what I do now and going forward. Like and that's what matters. But yeah, I mean, looking back it was horrible, but looking back I can laugh now.
Oh yeah,
because like I want what everybody else is laughing. Or me throwing the trophy. Funny thing about that, Scott, it's like we're talking to Sean Williams once again, but like last week. So Vince was in the gym on Wednesday, and then Sean was there too, and we're talking about, I don't know how we got on the topic of it. We're talking about like throwing the trophy, and then Sean goes like, so Sean had been like it was like a soccer player or like throughout his youth. He goes like, man, I saw that trophy and I go like, man, I always wanted a big trophy like that. Oh, no. and then he saw me walk in, he's like, I want that. And he sees me launch that thing, like just breaking. And he felt like, oh no. He's like, oh no, I wanted that trophy.
And that just shows value. Like, and I don't know why it is we do that, but the only way I can break it down is like, it's like the, Wu-Tang. the thrill, victory, the agony, defeat.
Yeah.
And I mean, that is really... And even when you win, there's just something... It doesn't resolve... It's resolving something. It doesn't resolve everything, though, in terms of what you wanted to execute in that fight, or maybe something deeper internally.
Yeah. I think it's like... Yeah, because I think when you win, it's almost... I think the biggest thing I feel is just a relief. Kind of sense, it's another one over, and I feel... I did what I'm supposed to do, but I think the value thing in terms of the trophy was like funny to me, because it's like, to me like that doesn't mean anything. And it was just funny hearing like Sean's like, oh no, he's like broken.
Sean's like, man, I really admire
never mind. And that was when he decided, what, Patrol needs me to record something for him? No.
This guy doesn't care about the sport.
This guy doesn't care about trophies. Why should I care about him?
Yeah, man.
So yeah, man. So anyway, okay, let's go back to you. So post-fight, like let's say like immediately afterwards, like you're all getting cleared. Like, I guess, like how clear or how much time did you have to like really reflect upon it until, because other fighters were fighting that night. Like, so how quickly did you have to go like?
No, so that's a good question. Yeah. So I think for me, like I tend to be like, when things happen like this, it tends to be more like, okay, like I always deal with it later, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like, I'm always kind of like, or even like, or like even like sometimes like with friends, like I remember in high school or going to college, things like that, when friends move away, like the last time that I see them and stuff, it's like, oh hey, well see ya, blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff. And I know that like that stuff like that, it doesn't hit me until like the day later, if that makes sense. So
yeah.
So that's kind of how I tend to be. And so like after the fight, like. And you still have this adrenaline high and stuff like that too. And so it's just like, all right, it happened, whatever, and I'm just enjoying my time, like hanging out backstage. And actually too, like one of my favorite things just in general, whenever the fight cards are going on, is honestly just like kind of hanging out backstage and stuff like that. Even the events where I'm not fighting, I just like being back there, just hanging out with people and stuff like that. And I think it has something to do with being around the team, the camaraderie, and also because emotions are a little higher than normal. Even though, like, I know, like, everyone... This actually, like, kind of not threw me off. I was like, wow, like, the first time I saw, like, someone from AMC, like, walk out, I was shocked that, like, everyone is just, like, joking around in the back and stuff like that. Like, it seems pretty...
It's normalized,
It's normalized, yeah. And I was like, wow, this is, like... I mean, the athlete is focused in, but everyone else, well, they care, obviously, and things like that. People just talk and joke around and stuff like that, and
try to keep the mood light, man, because I mean it's gonna get brutal heavy. In there. Yeah.
Well, I think that's how you can also tell, like, how veteran a team is, like from their how used they are to that heightened sense.
Yeah. Who else fought that night? Remind me.
Ryan Kim was supposed to fight that night. I think this is because Ryan was supposed to come up next. Mm-hmm. So, which is an interesting point. So, because I wasn't there, I just heard about it. So how was, because who was warming up with Ryan? Wasn't it like?
Yeah, it was me. Yeah, it was Ryan and James.
Right. Yeah,
that fought that night.
No, also Jay.
And Jay.
Yeah,
okay.
Because it was a Vincent,
me,
and
Ryan,
then Ryan,
Jay,
and then James.
Got it. Yeah, man. Well, I was just
Ryan Kim.
Yeah, I was warming him up, dude, and it was just basic guard passing stuff, and then he threw his back out because he tried to go for a knee bar. Arm bar. He went from an arm bar on my left side, and then dude, just fell back, and he fell off of the horrible mats that they put in there.
The yoga mats or whatever.
And he landed on his or he pulled his back. I don't think it was what.
So he rolled over.
So was it the action of the armbar itself? Like, was anything off about Ryan, or was
I couldn't see.
You couldn't see.
All I did was he passed guard, and then what I did is I turned.
Yeah.
I think to my right because he grabbed my left arm, and then he threw his back out, man, and then he just crawled to the fucking wall, and I thought it was pretty dramatic.
Damn.
Yeah.
I guess his back. I guess he had injured it at work, and then
yeah. And I talked to Sean a little bit after that too, because I think Ryan had told Sean, but the way that it was communicated didn't seem like it was that big of a deal.
Because I don't think
Ryan I think Ryan just tends to tough things out.
Yeah, and he told Sean, but or he told people, but he was just like, oh, just kind of pushing it off,
just like, oh, back a little sore, okay. And so I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, and then James fought, and then Jay fought. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. But I mean, that's got to be massively unfortunate for Ryan, though. I can't imagine having to pull out of a fight in minutes
like that. Yeah.
Minutes.
I was so
unfortunate. Yeah.
I'm realizing something. I was so focused on your fight that I didn't know what. I thought your fight happened way long ago in my brain. I'm like, I was so focused on making sure you were good, and because I hadn't been asked. You asked me to corner, so I remember all my energy was going there. Yeah. Because I don't remember much of the other guys' fights. I just remember James piecing that guy up.
Yeah, James did piece that guy up.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, kicking him in the face and teeping him in the face. But yeah, it sucks, man. I'm glad Ryan didn't have that injury happen in the cage, though.
Yeah, 100%.
It's
better. Like if it's gonna happen, it's better it happen during the warm up then.
Because then he has a thrown out back and possibly concussion too.
Yeah. Well, he's gonna throw and then and then he's gonna hurt his back and he's gonna try to fight through it anyways. He's probably gonna throw it out worse.
Exacerbate it.
That's true. Yeah, it might be even worse if he had the adrenaline running in him and then not feeling the pain, and then all of a sudden coming at him once it wore off. Yeah. But that's unfortunate.
I hope his back gets better.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Once again, because I wasn't there, so I was just hearing about all this stuff. Because I watched the grainy footage, saw Vincent, and then when's Ryan supposed to fight? And
then it just never seemed.
Yeah, I was like, what the hell? And then I think I was either messaging. I don't know, I forgot who told me. I think it was either Jacob or Joel.
It's like someone told you at some point.
He's like, he pulled his back. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
How'd that happen?
From my remember I was walking around outside, watching fights or just talking to some people that I knew, and I walked back into the locker room, and Ryan's already on the ground. I'm like, what the fuck? What happened?
Oh, no. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was just joking after.
No, I know what you mean, because he's so extreme anyways.
I was like, he's joking. There's no way. And then I was like, oh no, his back is fucked up.
Yeah.
And Matt's like, what happened? What happened? I was like, he went for an armbar and he threw his back out.
Yeah. What I thought was funny, after it had been established that this had happened and things had kind of calmed down a bit, and I think the EMT person had came in and was looking at Ryan and stuff. So all of us are huddled around Ryan and stuff like that, and it'd been like this for a little bit, and then the EMT kind of at one point just looks at Matt, and she's like, yeah, I don't think he should fight. And then Matt looks back and she's like, oh no, he's not fighting. Duh. Of course.
Matt's like, I really appreciate your professional opinion, but he's fucking fighting.
Get up, Ryan.
Yeah, this amateur fight. Yeah. Yeah, dude, it was a blur because I forgot that happened. Not that happened, but that he, that he had it was that bad.
That he was
and that he was on the ground.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. Dude. Because he was incapacitated, he wasn't up walking around.
Not for quite a while. And even then, not really walking around that well. So
yeah, dude.
So
Yeah.
Let's see. So, that fight. Yeah, and then Jay fought. Do you remember Jay fighting at all?
Yeah, I remember him dropping the guy.
Yeah.
And then just he just got wrestle fucked.
Yes.
Pretty much, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
He got wrestle fucked and then just kind of just laid on his back. And actually, the majority of it was he got pressed up against the cage.
Yes.
And he couldn't get his back off the cage.
Got wall installed.
Yeah, wall stalled, and he got taken down a couple times.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yep. And then, let's see. Oh yeah. So yesterday, Vince and I we were in the corner for Kong.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I think that's an interesting experience. Just because various people respond different ways.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the combat, and I guess so. What were your thoughts on how on the smoker thing?
Yeah.
And from there,
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I think with Kong, he definitely has, for kickboxing smoker, definitely has all the skills.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely. In my mind, Kong's technically a better kickboxer than I am.
Mm-hmm.
And if I just do straight kickboxing with him, I'm like, this is gonna be rough for me.
Yeah.
And so he definitely has all the skills to do a kickboxing smoker, 100%. But this is, I think, his first competitive.
It's
sort
his
of
first
thing.
ever competitive.
Yeah. So it's there's always that question of he has
how did you
exactly how's he gonna respond to it?
Yeah.
So and you just never know. But he's done how do you get that experience? You have to go out there and do it. So he's done.
There's no other substitute.
Exactly. So it's he's doing all the right things. So let's just see what happens.
Yeah, what happens.
And I thought he did really well.
Yeah.
Did the crowd seem to bother him? No, I don't think so.
No.
Did he go crazy? Crazy? No.
I mean,
a little bit.
I mean, a little bit.
A little bit. He
nothing,
started to headhunt.
Yeah, but nothing. When I think crazy, I think something that's very not normal.
Yeah,
for the
way
person.
out of character.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that was interesting, and I think it's what's always interesting to me, I guess, in fights is just how you sense how tense. You
feel the tension in the
crowd,
yeah.
From there, and I feel one thing that it reminded me of was how you mentioned how you hang out backstage, and I feel like overall we're a pretty I feel pretty relaxed throughout from there, and so it was me. So the people in the corner were me, James, and then Vincent, and then Kong from there. But I feel that's the thing. I feel like people really respond from your energy, from there, and I feel like
oh, you mean energy of the corner?
Energy of energy of energy of people in general. But I feel like in the corner, especially since we're right there, and I think it's interesting how because how people respond to that, because I guess I've never been really in a bad corner or in a corner where people aren't experienced. Yeah. So I would. So you know where I'm getting at, Scott, because I feel like I see some people out there and I go man, how do they let stuff like this happen?
Well, I had this is just a good well, it's all about fighting. We're going mini tangent. Yeah. The most intense cornering experience I had was from my buddy Jonah Villamore. Okay. And this is crazy. He fought in a tournament, Muay Thai tournament. I think there was 8 competitors. Mm-hmm. And it was one night. Yeah. Amateur.
One night amateur. Damn. How many rounds was each fight?
So 3, and then the main one was 5.
God damn.
So he fought... No, it was actually, I think it was 6, because he fought 2 fights. Okay. And then he was in the main... The first one got him to the main event bracket, and then he fought for the title. But it was crazy because the first fight he had, right, it was pretty quick. It ended TKO. Yeah. I was the only guy in the corner, and he had ended up kicking the guy's elbow, and he had a baseball-sized knot on his right leg. Yeah. And so I walk him to the back, and he's limping. I'm like, dude, are you gonna be able to go back out there? And he's like, dude, you just gotta ice it down and rub it out, and then just don't show the promoter. Yeah. And I was just like, fuck, dude. I remember just because we didn't know how quick the next fight was going to go, because it was a fight and then a couple other exhibitions and then the main event. So I just remember after his win, just rubbing that fucking knot, dude, and it was just the tension was there. Yeah. Because he limped out to the ring for the main event, and then he jumped in the ring and was you could just see he was in visible pain, and I'm just in the corner fuck, dude, I hope he doesn't fall.
Yeah.
He ended up winning by TKO. They dropped the guy
the second one as well. Was it pretty early?
Well, it was the main event because there was actually only 2 fights. So,
yeah.
But he ended up winning by TKO, and it was crazy because when the bell rang, it was almost like the adrenaline took over. But I never had been so nervous in a corner. I was like, fuck.
Because he's going out there not
injured,
and stuff like
and then I remember just being super positive because you talk about corner environment. I just remember being like, hey, dude, the adrenaline's going to kick in. Don't think about it. Just go out there and do it. It was crazy, bro. But that last fight, there was all these dudes who weren't in the corner the first time that just wanted to be in the corner, so it got kind of frustrating. There was like...
Well, which last fight? What do you mean?
Oh, the main event.
Oh, the
main event, yeah.
Okay.
His last fight. There's a bunch of people that just... Like, people from the crowd that were in the
that were just, like, hanging out.
Like, me! I'm just like, wait, what? That guy's not a coach?
And it's like, there's, like, no protocol.
Yeah. No, not at that one, but yeah.
I think that's one thing that's helpful, for it seems like in the AMC corner, there's always, like... It's like, okay, who do you want to be the main person? Stuff like that. Who's the main timekeeper? Who's doing this and that? Like,
good delegation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, delegation, also organization.
Yeah.
Of what's happening. Yeah, because and that's the thing, because I feel like a lot of, because I was just looking, a lot of people will send. I guess it's not a matter of like how ready they are, but they're just like, oh wow, you're not prepared really to do anything. Like at this, you're really just being set out, put in a dangerous environment.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You see what I mean? It's like,
or they don't know. Like you gotta have people in the corner that know how to talk to the fighter in all sort of scenarios.
And also understand who the fighter is.
As a person, And that's why, for the example I was giving, that's why Jonah chose me because like that fight went into the third round, and after the first round, he was in a lot of pain.
Oh,
so he was like,
the second fight,
the main event,
Okay.
He was.
Did he walk at all, or how was he moving? Oh, I guess adrenaline was helping him.
I could tell it was hurting him because like when he's fighting and exchanging, you can't tell, and he's even kicking with it.
Yeah.
And his like kicks were getting checked, and I'm just like, I don't know how he's like not. It was just a brutal amount of adrenaline pumping through his body and just fucking will. But I remember he went back and sat down in the corner, and I just was paused. I was like, bro, you're doing great. I was like, try to stay off that foot, just keep moving, combos and clinch, because that's where we started dropping him. As I was having him punch into the clinch, I was like 1-1-2, grab the clinch. I was having him do the pry, and then just having him knee the shit out of this guy. But I was just staying positive and trying to get him not to think about it. Just trying to get him to remember, like, all right, dude, don't kick with it. You're still throwing like body tens with it, which is crazy. But just stay positive, and I think that really helped him get to that level. But yeah, it's really about positive reinforcement and then just kind of knowing the landscape. You want to see what's actually going on in the fight. And Matt, I love cornering with Matt because I pick up on all these little nuances. Because he's not so much one to bark orders unless it's like situation critical.
He'll like dire or something.
Because he trusts that, and he knows that you've been training enough to do the right things.
Yeah.
So all he does is just give you an emphasis on the things you're doing right, or something you need to do immediately. And I think that's one of the most efficient ways to corner. You know?
Yeah. No, that's the thing, because I feel like with Beck, he's always very calm, and with the directions, it's very. I feel it's like simple directions. It's nothing like.
It's nothing too crazy.
No.
Like from there.
Yeah.
And then I feel like it's easy to follow.
Well, and I feel like, at least in my experience, it was nice too because like the stuff that he's calling for, I'm like, oh okay, like this is just stuff that we just kind of worked in the gym normally. Yeah. It's like it's nothing that's like overreaching and stuff like that. It's just like,
all right, 720 spinning back kick.
Yeah. So.
And I remember cornering Karos too in Jakarta.
And
you fought that guy Tommy Lee or whatever.
Tommy Yang.
Tommy Yang.
That guy was tough. I remember watching that and it was like I don't know what time. It was like 2 a.m. or something here. But Karos was just straight elbowing him, like head in the back, just
in guard.
Just elbow. No. I think it was standing up against the cage or something. And the guy was just like grinning at him.
Yeah, he was elbowing him. He had the guy's back against the cage, and they had like a overhook, and then he was just dumping elbows, and then he did the AMC double leg takedown off the cage, and he was just landing like crucial ass elbows against the cage, and the guy was just eating him, dude.
Yeah.
It was so funny though. The funny thing about that fight is, Karos came out first, and gets in the cage, and then this guy Tommy Yang comes out, and he gets in the cage, and he like you know how some people just jog around the cage,
Yeah.
you jog past your opponent? He was like prancing like this, like a fucking, he was
I remember,
and I was in the cage too, and I'm just like, what the fuck's this guy's problem?
No, I remember, yeah, because it was you and Brandon. I remember you describing, yeah, he was prancing.
He was
like an
prancing.
antelope.
And I just looked at Carol, so I was like, this guy's going to come out hard, I can just tell.
Did he come with like a flying knee or something?
Right off the bat,
Yeah,
that's what Carol said, and then...
Yeah.
But yeah, he just brutalized him, and we saw him at breakfast the next morning, and his face was like...
Yeah, it looked like he got attacked by a wasp.
It was just like... Alright, dude. But cornering is a great, like, for anybody, like, especially if you're a fighter, too, because you can kind of see what works, or, like, see who you'd want in your corner. You know what I mean? Dude's face was fucked.
No, he got messed up. But,
Where's Jakarta?
Jakarta's in Indonesia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was a wild experience, man.
And,
Man.
I was, let's see, so, Scout, what would you say has been, when you were fighting, like, what has been the most memorable, I guess, corner you've had? Yeah.
Have I told the story before? Like, I have one story I always tell about Matt.
Just say it, might as well. Yeah.
Well, I have, no, actually I have two very interesting corner stories.
Okay.
I'll tell the first one when I won the title, and then when I defended the title at Genesis. So, when I defended it, it was on one of the Genesis cards, when I won it, it was on one of the Genesis cards, and Steve Skids and Trevor Jackson, and then Kyle Murphy were in my corner. And I was fighting this guy, Robert Morrison, and he was a replacement for another guy I was supposed to fight, and he didn't take it. The guy got injured or something. But anyway, in the fight, I had a front headlock, like, for the majority of the fight. Yeah. And I was so deathly afraid of, like, jumping to my back.
Oh, yeah.
Because I hated being on my back.
Yeah.
I wanted to always be in the top position and just progressing that way. I didn't have too many good submissions off my back at that stage in my career. Mm-hmm. But I fucking get this guillotine. I'm just, like, essentially running around the cage for, like, all... Yeah. It was 5 rounds, but, like, for first 3 rounds, it finished in the 4th. Just, like, kneeing this guy nonstop. Kneeing him, boom, boom, taking him down. So getting the front headlock snap and then taking his back. And it just was fucking frustrating because I didn't know what to do. And, like, so after the 3rd, like, I go back to the corner and, like, I'm just sitting there and I'm like, fuck, what do I do? And Steve Skids and those guys are giving me coaching advice. And so then I, like, go back out and I'm fighting, and I managed to get the guy up against the cage. Okay. And then, like, I take him down and I'm like, just ground and pounding him, and, like, I hear this voice, like, or Matt's like, push his face, and I hear this voice go, listen to him, Scott, and I'm just like, and I, like, look out, this is mid-fight, I look out the cage, and it's my mom, and my mom's in the fucking corner next to Matt. And, like, I'm just, I'm like, what is going on? And then Matt just looks at her, I remember this vividly, and then he just goes, okay. He's like, all right, push his face. He doesn't like that. Yeah. So I don't finish the fight, and then, like, I don't know where my mom went, but I come back out, and Matt just gets up and he looks at me and he's like, what are you doing? He's like, you're running around getting this guy in a front headlock. He's like, you got to finish the fight. And I'm like, okay, well, da-da-da. And then he's like, no, finish the fucking fight. He just yells at me. So I go out there, front headlock, guillotine, it's over. Yeah. But, yeah, that was pretty epic. The second, so I defended it after that, right? And so, I knock the guy out, and DJ and Steve are in my corner. So this is post-fight. I'm like, I just lose it. And I'm, like, running around the ring, and I'm just yelling. I'm like, it's my belt. It's my belt. And I guess Steve is, like, trying to reach for me to calm me down. He's, like, trying to grab me. He's like, Scott, stop. And I'm just running past him. I'm, like, running past him consistently. Like, Scott, stop. And then DJ told me this. I didn't see it, but Steve put his arm out, and DJ grabbed his arm. And he's like, no, let him have this. He needs this. Just full-on psycho, dude. But yeah, I'm trying to think of other corner stories, but no, other than that, just I always had Steve Skids was one of my main corners, and he was always really simple. Mm-hmm. Like he would really give me good advice on when to push the pace and then when to dial back, and because I never really had a good measure, I would just
you're just going
and just a buzzsaw, you know. So he helped me dial that back. But yeah, those were some hilarious stories from the corner. Yeah, like when I say Matt yelled, like I'm making it seem really mild, but he was like, finish the fucking fight. And I was just like, Okay. Yep. We're just gonna get this.
I guess we're just gonna finish this.
Yeah, man.
So the funniest cornering experience I've had was when I was cornering Jay White for a fight. I think it was like Christmas time.
We already know it's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great. Yeah. So it was. Yes, I think it was. Yeah. So it was like week before Christmas or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I think. So Matt wasn't able to be there. He had to go to the Christmas party, and I feel like it was me and John Haynes ordering Jay White. So Jay's there. Jay always has all these crazy ideas, and he's like, you know what, guys, I think I'm gonna hit him with this thing. Take it out. I think I'm just gonna. And then so John and I were watching him do this, and John goes like, no man, you probably shouldn't force that. and then Jay goes like,
really bad idea.
And then Jay goes, no man, I'm gonna do it. And then John goes like, and I go like, no John, no, like there's nothing you're gonna say to him that's gonna make him stop. And I go, just do you, Jay. He's like, you think I should do it? I'm like, I don't really care. And then the fight starts, and I remember he tries to do the kick, and he misses completely. Of course. But then the guy pretty much like runs away from him, like to get away from the kick, and then kind of just clunky, and then.
But the point is, he completely missed it.
He completely missed the kick, not even close. But Jay does this like flying kind of, you know how the thing. So whenever I see Jay move, it's like, oh man, it's almost as if like the top half and the bottom half of his body are not on the same page. And then he's like, punch.
No, because he strikes like that too. There's a lot of power, but it's always like this weird.
No. That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's like his legs told him to move, but his legs, like, instead of like moving forward, it jumps. And then he like lands this like semi-Superman. He didn't even mean to throw a Superman.
So like Jay throw 1-1-2, it's always backing up. He's like, no, I'm going forward. It's like, no, each time you're going backwards. He's like, no, I'm going forward.
So somehow he catches the guy in this like jumping like back punch like from there. But then it just caught the guy like either so unaware or Jay just threw it so fast.
Did he sleep him?
No, but it rocked him. And I'm like, he's hurt. And then Jay just starts punching just like that.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah. Rock him, sock him.
Yeah. So he hits him with the right that drops the guy. But Jay was so committed to throwing the left that he like almost throws out his hand. But just how... Like if you were watching it, you see, so he hits him with the right, the guy and then he crumble, and then
he just vanishes.
Yeah, and then like you see, he almost goes off camera with how far he throws it with that left.
Jay
pretty good.
Jay White.
I'm trying to think, like for me, I think the one corner story that I have, it's not as dramatic as those, but like those are pretty epic. Yeah, no, this was a smoker that I did, and Greg was in my corner.
Oh yeah,
I think you know this.
Good old Sage.
Yeah. No, but like
here he likes whiskey.
and I can't remember. I can't remember if it was the first or second round.
Yeah.
With the smoker, but so I've been kicking the guy to the leg and the body a lot.
Yeah. Oh yes. I do.
And then Greg noticed something, and I didn't realize I was doing this. Mm-hmm. I hear him, and he's just like, "Stop looking at his leg before you kick it." And so I have this whole conversation in my head that, like, when you watch it on camera or in film, it's super quick, but in my mind there was this conversation that happened. So I hear Greg, he goes, "Stop looking at his leg before you kick it." And then sure enough, I was looking at the guy's leg, and I was like, "Oh no, Greg, you're right." And then I look up at the guy's face, and he's looking at me, and then I'm like, "Oh no," but he also heard Greg. He knows that now I'm going to kick him in the leg. And then
you go back.
No, so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to look at his leg, and I'm going to kick him in the head. And that's exactly what I did.
And did it land?
Oh, it landed flush. I remember that.
I'm looking at his leg before you kick it. Yeah. And then he goes, "Oh, that's what we're going to do." And you're like, the only way for this to work logically is if I look down, but don't throw the kick at the leg, the head. That's how you want it to work, though.
It's just so funny though how like you can have this full-on conversation in your head.
Yeah.
Or like it's probably when you look back, you put the actual conversation in.
Yeah.
But like there's this, it goes by in just an instant, but there's this full-on thing that happens, and
Yeah. No, I remember watching that, and that's like because I heard Greg too. I was like, that's funny. And then,
yeah, or you do something and then you completely forget about it in the fight. Like I remember I got admonished one time for I taunted an opponent after a victory. I did the Dragon Ball Z Kamehameha to him.
Yeah, I remember you said
and I got admonished by Matt.
Yeah.
I literally didn't remember doing that until we watched the video like that the next night or next day.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't remember doing that shit. It just felt right. I was like, I've collected his soul. Now it's time.
Yeah.
His soul is mine.
What the fuck was I doing? Matt got so mad. But it's funny because one of the coaches was like, yeah, man, that was a great fight. You know what was really awesome, though? It was Bobby Brokenshire.
Oh, yeah.
You know what was really awesome is when you did the Kamehameha. That was fucking sick, bro. He's like, dude, that's what you want to do. I was like, oh, okay. Matt did not like that, though.
But is Bobby Brokenshire, is that Drew related?
He's Drew
He used to like come in
Brokenshire.
and coach every once in a while in the corner and stuff.
Yeah, he's a wrestling coach now.
Yeah,
okay.
Pretty successful wrestling coach.
At high school, I think Kennedy. I can't remember.
Okay.
But it's Drew's older brother.
Gotcha.
He used to fight at AMC. Had a couple fights.
Yeah. I remember. Well, same time, like that same when the smoker when you're. Because I remember that guy you're fighting kept throwing like spinning back kicks.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
I was just yelling garbage. Yeah. It's like me. Yelling at, and then I remember like someone in the crowd like looked back, like I don't
Just like you said, and then he was like, "Who said that?
Who said that?"
Yeah. I said so much stupid shit at fights.
For sure.
When like people are on the ground, I'm like, knee, throw the knee, use the boy, knock him out. Like the guys have just been side control for 30 seconds. Knock him out.
Yeah. Or I remember also Ryan. So Ryan had a boxing, and then it was supposed to be so. Ryan was like looking forward to doing kickboxing, but then the only guy he was matched up against was doing just boxing. So Ryan, I think he almost kicked him, right, but didn't quite kick him. Yeah. So
he just forgot.
Yeah, he just forgot. Yeah, because I think he threw a jab and was about to throw a 10, and then just stopped. And then,
that'd be awesome if he just fucking slept.
I know, with a high 10. Because I remember I yelled, "He did that on purpose!" Yeah.
They're like, "Yeah, we gotta stop the fight. Stop the fight."
Because I remember, I think it was Drew that was refereeing. It was down at West Coast, and I think they separated. Hey, no kicks. Yeah. From there. And then I was okay, and I yelled, "He did it on purpose!" And then I remember his opponent just started throwing heat.
Yeah, no, I remember that. Yeah. That one too, like Ryan was doing pretty good in that one. Like Ryan started waving the guy.
Yeah, waving the guy.
He always does that.
Yeah.
With his K-pop.
But like I remember though, Ryan before that. He was really, he was very.
Was he nervous?
Oh yeah, no, because he prepared for kickboxing, and then the guy wanted to do a box.
He was pretty distraught.
He was pretty distraught.
Happy
yeah. But then once he got in there, he was fine.
Yeah.
So. But I think like the reasoning was like, the guy has a hurt ankle or something like that. That was like the reasoning.
But he had his boxing shoes.
He showed up with boxing shoes.
I don't know. Oh man, good thing he came up with his boxing shoes.
It was kind of like I don't know about that, but
yeah, that happens with the amateur shows. Is you got to be very aware that it's subject to change.
Yeah. That's why you always got a flying knee, man. Just throw a flying knee. You
thought you were doing submission wrestling. Well, now you're doing full MMA, and it's like, okay.
Oh man, you thought you were doing kickboxing?
You thought this was a grappling tournament? No, this is underground fighting with brass knuckles.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck's happening? Yeah, man. So what are your goals now? Like, do you want to fight, have a quick turnaround, or?
That's a good question. I think for me, because like this is not the first time I've had a concussion. This is the second for sure, and there's probably been at least one other one. But that I don't know because that one like when I got so my first fight I had it got stopped in like a minute or something like that because I got dropped twice.
But that you didn't know of the
but one of them I didn't remember. So.
Wait, what do you mean twice, Gabe?
Yeah. yeah. That's a real story.
Is Gabe in your corner?
No, but I was training.
But Gabe was watching it.
Yeah. And then but then no, but but that one after I was super bummed out about the result, but I don't remember experiencing any sort of concussion or post-concussion syndrome sort of things. So that one you get dropped twice, it's not good for you. Something happens.
No, not
probably not great for your brain.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
But I didn't experience any sort of symptoms. So,
sure.
But on this one you did.
Oh yeah, this one I did. What was it? Even I saw after the so I'm still at the venue. And I actually there was twice where I started to feel nauseous, but it was one of those things where I think because it just happened and I'm aware that okay you might have been concussed by that, you just never know. And then so I started to feel nauseous, but I just kind of wanted to ignore it. It's just so that happened. Like, and then the next day I felt pretty good, fine, but I could tell something slightly foggy in the head, but you just don't know sometimes. Because there's other times you get slightly foggy, like, you don't sleep well, things like that.
Yeah.
And I did not sleep well that night. Because, I think what Greg wanted me to do was just, like, if you can, like, sleep at a friend's place or something and have them wake you up and stuff like that. Like, that whole thing. Mm-hmm. So I didn't sleep well that night. So the next day I felt a little foggy, but I was like, oh, maybe it's just that.
Yeah.
But on Monday, that's when it hit more. I went to work, and I actually felt great up until the point where I wasn't feeling great.
And what was that time frame?
I showed up to work around like 8 or 9, and then...
At 8:01.
No. I felt fine, actually, up until maybe like noon.
It's around lunch.
Yeah, something like that.
So.
Yeah, and then like the other time I had a concussion, that's how it was too. Like, I felt fine for, like, it took a couple days to settle in. Mm-hmm. And then, like, when I look through the literature, I think that's how it normally is. It takes a couple days, and I think there's something about how, like, your brain, the first couple days, is still trying to figure out, like, where it's at. Like, things are trying to settle in.
It's like trying to normalize.
Yeah, something like that. And then there's a point a couple days in where it starts to realize, it settles in, like, okay, this is where we're at. And then that's when you can start to feel certain things.
Yeah. That's like with high levels of stress, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I just took a 6-hour exam.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, and, like, how
the LSAT, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it was just brutal.
Yeah.
But, like, how I feel today is, like, now I'm starting to feel it. Just the exhaustion and the... I'm not trusting all my emotional reactions today, just because I know I'm just tired from months of preparation. Yeah. But I agree with that, because that's how it is. Like, I was done and I was like, it's over. Yes, I'm done. Yeah. I'm on the bus home and okay, and everything's good. And then this morning I woke up and I was just like, why am I so fucking foggy? Yeah. Just was under time conditions answering these really complex questions.
That's a lot of energy to expel, a lot of mental energy. That's a real thing. So.
Yeah, and even with the concussions too, I remember when I got the fight I was describing where I was running around the ring, that was probably my 6th fight, so my first title defense. I got hit pretty hard in that fight.
Wasn't that by what's his name?
BJ San
Lucas. Yeah.
Was this like the uppercut that you got hit with? Or?
No, that was Tyler Thompson.
Okay.
I got hit hard as shit with that.
Oh yeah, that was your fight when you came back.
And the second title I won. But dude, I felt weird after that. Like, I went to the bar with Carlos and those guys, and I drank just a little bit, but I remember Jesse Davis was there. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to him, and we were just talking. And he's like, man, Scott, you just really did good, man. That was a great KO, dude. I'm glad we could fight in the same card. And I looked at him, and I was like, you fought? Totally forgot that he fought like 2 fights before me, and that he had KO'd a guy with
he slept the guy with like...
off angle overhand right. I could still see it, but I just was like, what's going on? And then that next day, dude, just not
remembering or just not feeling...
Yeah, or when I fell out of the ring when I was sparring and hit my head, just like that whole week, just brain fog, anxiety.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you took the time off, dude, because shit.
No, yeah, I think this is how I feel about stuff like that, at least right now. It's just like when people get concussed or like brain trauma, like, it's not good for sure, but at the same time, like, I do think the body, it can heal if you give it the right things, you got to give it the right conditions. But it's like if you hurt your joint or something like that and you use it a little bit, things like that, and you kind of give it that time to rebuild, it's good. But if you just don't do anything, that's not good. Or 2, if you just overdo it, that's not good either.
Well, I think you got to be fair in your analysis and go, not everyone who gets a concussion is going to develop something like CTE.
No,
that's after repeated brain trauma. Yeah. However, I'm always concerned about the athlete who may have other things like anxiety or ADHD and may not know it, or
certain genetic factors.
Or is depressive type. You should not be doing the sport, because it's just going to exacerbate those things, especially like ADHD. Like, that's a big one. There's a lot of studies that are like, okay, you may have had genetics which led to that type of cognition, and what can make the downside of that condition worse is repeated trauma.
Well, and I think even too, even if you don't have any of those things, I know, because for me it's been interesting because I've had 2 concussions and I'm recovering from this one, but I think I'll be fine. Recovered from the first one, and that recovery process, it's like night and day difference between both of them. Because the first one, it was just, I think, because it was the first one, so I didn't know, I was like, oh man, is this the end of me doing martial arts? I've been doing martial arts since I was 10, this is what I like to do, and now maybe I can never do this, what's going on? So there was that. Also, like, there was some other stuff in life going on. Like, there was a problem with a girl that was not going very well at all.
Stress.
Yeah, and then at work there were things that were going on.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of bad, like, things that just weren't good. And so, like, when all that's going on, it's just not good for your recovery. And, like, I would see that in the literature. Like, if you're depressed, like, it's going to take you longer to get over brain trauma. That's just how it is.
Yep.
And I'm just like, oh,
well, it's straining your brain.
Yeah, exactly.
And
yeah,
your body as well.
Yeah.
You said something earlier in the podcast too that I'm glad we're talking about this because I wanted to bring it up again before we finish. I don't know when we're going to finish. This is now we're on to the shit I really like to talk about. You said that you wish you could get the spiritual benefits you get from fighting without having to risk all that.
Yeah, 100%. But I think that risk is a part of it, though. I really do think that. So, because when you go, like, that's why it's such a heightened thing, because you know that, like, oh, this is real. There's no safe place to hide or run. This is it. And stuff like that.
Yeah, the risk is what fun is that.
And that's what makes it fun too. Like, when I showed up to the venue, like, I was really happy I had this reaction. I saw this cage. It was a small cage. And I was so happy. Like, I saw it and I'm like, oh, this is great because there's nowhere to run. This is perfect. So,
yeah.
It's like that gambler's fallacy. You know, you think, like, that the sensation of losing still causes a high.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like pursuing any, like, challenge or trying to reach any goal that has a lot of obstacles in front of it, you know. And it's just, you know, I have a lot of critiques of just, like, fighting. I mean, more so the commodification of the sport. That's my main issue. I just, you know, am I going to be hyper judgmental of someone who makes a living doing this? Not necessarily. I just still find it really strange that it's, you know, that it's an actual, like, marketed and high revenue generating thing, right? And that there's a lot of people who, given certain, like, they're kind of directed towards the sport, you know, in a way. So, and it's such a diverse group of people that participate. Not everybody who does it has had significant, like, trauma or came from low socioeconomic status. There's a lot.
But a majority, I would say.
A majority do. So you're just kind of like,
it's geared towards a certain kind of person.
Right, or unresolved, because we talk about it as cathartic, and I think it still serves as catharsis. The whole process and then the competition, no matter how much of a professional you claim yourself to be, because a lot of the professionals do good jobs of detaching. They're like, it's a job now. It's like, well, okay, but then how did you end up doing a job like this?
Like,
you know, that's the ultimate question. How did you end up doing a job like this?
No, but it's a curious thing, you know, what leads somebody, like, to seeking this out. Or I guess, like, sometimes it's not even, I feel like people are seeking out something, they're not sure what, and they end up finding this.
Yeah. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that, like, just the activity in and of itself isn't just such a wonderful thing, and that's, because it is.
Yeah.
It's just then in terms of, like, what you end up getting for it, or when it becomes a career, you know, it's just, it kind of changes things, I think. But I like talking to you because it sounds like it's still generating some meaning for you.
I think,
and that's the most important thing, is as long as you calculate the risks, you understand that, you know, you're competing in combat, unarmed combat, and the risk is you could get a concussion, you could get your arm broken. And,
like, bad stuff could happen. So,
and that's why you train, though. You train hard, and then you just kind of live with, you live with the consequences of it.
Yeah.
Right. But it is just crazy to see, like, what was that documentary called again? The Hurt Business or whatever. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah.
Where it shows, like, the ups and downs. It shows, like, someone like John Jones. I think he's the focus of it, but he's not a participant of, like, his rise. And then it shows other UFC fighters and MMA fighters who just kind of ended up broken, destitute, where this was their only thing. You know, because I get questioned a lot. I get questioned a lot by guys up and coming, like, what should I do? And I'm always like, man, you just got to build something else up. And that's, while you're doing fighting and you want to go pro, make sure you also have something else to just fall back on. So it's like,
I think that's if you have the opportunity to build something up, that's I think that's the right approach. So
I think just being a well-rounded person. It's just
this is just a part.
Yeah. It's like you don't want to put all. It's like just in, like, anything. If you put all your eggs in one basket, and then, like, oh well, what happens when that doesn't fall through? Yeah.
Well, it's interesting too, like, because for me, like, I used to do judo, and there's I remember
judo state champ.
No.
Are you judo state champ?
No. I was just referring back to he was talking about how it would be Kent versus Kent.
Oh yeah,
for the judo state championship. I'm like, who's gonna win?
Kent.
Yeah,
Kent's gonna be sure to win.
Yeah.
But like the Olympic coach, or one of them, Jimmy Pedro. So like it's interesting because the judo athletes face an interesting, it's just an interesting situation. A lot of them, because they come from scholastic sports, at least in the U.S., like everyone tends to be young, right? When they're competing, like a lot of, like you can have some really high level competitors that compete in high school, and then some of them move on to college, and and then after college or around that time, maybe they're competing in the Olympics, things like that. So you have these athletes that are in their early 20s, maybe at the peak of their athletic career, quite possibly. And so but they're in the U.S. and there's a lot of different options they have, right? And so there's this interesting question of like, as a high school, like if you're a high school student or if you're a parent of a high school student that's doing judo and they want to compete at a high level, there's this question of like, should they still pursue school or like other opportunities, things like that. And Pedro had an interesting answer to the question.
Yeah, what was it?
In his mind, he's like, they should, still pursue judo and stuff, but you should try to pursue school and some other thing. And he has this, at least in this interview, and this was a while ago, at the time he had this belief that it had a benefit to their judo career.
No doubt.
And the reason being is just simply like, when you have multiple things, it's just like, if you lost the national competition or you didn't do as well as you wanted to, but you're still having success in school, or you're still having success at work, you're still having success somewhere in your life. And so even though you had a failure here, you're able to bounce back from that a lot easier because you're still successful in other areas. Or vice versa, maybe like you got fired from your job, or you didn't get accepted into this program or things, but you're successful in judo. So you still have this way to... You have more than just judo going
on. Because I think that's what happens to a lot of athletes, is that their sport becomes their identity.
Exactly.
And they don't know who they are without it.
Like, and for me, like I experienced, obviously not to that level, but when I was younger, like my identity was so closely tied to martial arts, and that's fine, but maybe like outcomes that were happening in martial arts, and that was the part that was unhealthy. Yeah. That like
outcomes that weren't always in.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you had success, it was great, but then if you had a failure, it just destroyed your world.
Yeah. And it's a different level of commitment to like do martial arts competition and like get your feet wet a little bit. I feel like the risk is minimized because you could be a lifelong martial artist and spar and spar in an intelligent way and still preserve like your brain health. But then to the person who's like at the UFC level, where it's like this is they need to secure this paycheck in order to stay afloat, and they may have different, like DJ has Twitch and stuff, which is a really smart business plan. It's like the wear and tear that you go through, even if you are a high level athlete. It's just I'm going to be interested to see the studies that come out if we're ever going to do them on like brain health. Yeah. Right. Because I mean, obviously boxing has changed, and MMA is safer than boxing, and boxing is safer now than what it used to be. So, but still, I don't know if there's been enough research and studies into like what MMA athletes go through and the damage that they actually take during like a really heavy fight. Yeah. And like you said, the brain can recover, but that's still probably one of the more grotesque aspects of the UFC is like you have, and I even caught Dana White himself in an interview, like he doesn't know anything about fighting. He knows about marketing. He knows about being a businessman. He boxed a little bit. But just the fact that is the sacrifice that athletes make. And I do think that these fighters should be compensated and should be able to... they are, but in a way that I just feel is more... Just by participating at that level, I think there should be a higher baseline form of compensation just because of the fucking risk. Because without the fighters, what do you have?
Yeah, there's no product. There's nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing.
You have absolutely nothing, you know.
That's why you go into cockfighting.
Yeah. I mean, John McCain was wrong about a lot of things, but, you know, he was kind of right about the human cockfighting thing. He said about, he said that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But, that's why I just tend to favor the spiritual. I mean, there is a great spiritual experience with it. Like, even looking at T. Wood last night, knowing where he came from. He came from Ferguson, Missouri. The conditions, the social conditions there, and what kind of happened in Ferguson 2014 for him to be like a role model for his community, right? Mm-hmm. Hard work, perseverance. So it cuts both ways, man. There's contradictions. Yeah. And just acknowledging the contradictions of like being a professional, but even the risks of an amateur. It's like you get this great reward from what you just went through, but then you're also like, fuck, I gotta chill for a month and make sure my brain's okay.
Yeah, and then you have those concerns and things like that.
Exactly, yeah.
But I feel like, too, it's just, at least with the concussion thing, it's like, it's one of those things where, like, one, it already happened, so I can't stress about it. And two, I think when the first concussion I had, I stressed about it so much, it made the recovery way worse. And there was an incident, too, had nothing to do with getting hit and stuff like that, but I got super stressed out about certain things. It was a dark little moment, but like I got so stressed out about some other things, it made my concussion significantly worse. Like I was recovering, and then something happened, and then I got so stressed out, and it dropped me down, stuff like that, right back to where I was before. Also.
Well, I think that just shows that like how important mental health is.
Yeah.
That people like don't people don't consider. You know, I mean, not just of course the physical aspect of like, things can hit you, but like I feel a lot of people don't consider just like that their thoughts have power over them, you know, and then the voice in their head ends up it can either help you like succeed or it can hurt you a lot, like from there. So it's curious how a lot of people have just an unhealthy mind space.
Mm-hmm. For sure, you know, and you gotta protect your brain, you know. So, reducing stress is so important to just brain growth, memory. You know, all the studies out there. High levels of stress impact memory, recall, all that.
Like all that matters, and just deciding to have a positive outlook on things and stuff like that. So,
yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, I feel it's like what you were saying, Scott, on how, some people with just how people's brains are wired, they might be more succumb, you know, to either high anxiety or high depression. That then once their brain health deteriorates due to like stuff with concussions, the problem just becomes even more overemphasized.
Yeah, and it's just that I'm saying though, it's like the whole phenomenon with the NFL, right?
Yeah.
Like all those people, all those athletes that started experiencing these symptoms. It's like, is there going to be a day where that will happen with MMA? You know,
it could definitely possibly happen because like if you think about it. All the athletes haven't quite reached to that age where they're,
and it's a young sport, right?
Yeah, from there. Yeah, and then, I know we talked about this already, but there was that MMA fighter who got killed in the car collision, and they found that his brain had signs of CTE already. Yeah. And I think he was only, like, what, eight fights in his career, and I think undefeated.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're doing a pretty good... They're quick to the draw, like the thing with Holloway, right? Where Holloway was slurring and he just wasn't making much sense when he was talking to Bisping. He looked like he was falling asleep in the interview, and Bisping was like, "Are you okay, Max?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm good." He had gotten a concussion in sparring.
But is that? See, that's the thing. That's always curious to me because that's been happening, or that was supposed to happen over 2 months ago. I think this was happening in July, and we still haven't heard like a reasoning for why he's out. I haven't heard. I mean, they said that it might be concussion. I haven't heard official news of why, though.
And I don't think you will, because what I'm starting to gather is that this is probably the dark secret, the dirty secret of the UFC. Is there's probably more instances than we're aware of. There's probably more problems than we know with fighters, and they're not talking about it. It's being suppressed. I mean, that's not like conspiracy theory. It's just, it's a dark conversation. We don't want to go there.
Look into it.
Yeah, whereas like the UFC doesn't want to talk about it because it hurts their business, and the athletes don't want to talk about it because then, I might not get a fight, stuff like that.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's with more regularity. It's gotta be like, and I get the argument, and I've traced where the arguments come from. We always hear MMA is safer, and because of just how quick the refs respond, and it's not
like saying it's safer to get stabbed.
Yeah, but still,
I'm sure.
Like you're gonna tell me that I'm trying to think of so like Khabib and Barboza, right? All those shots Barboza took. Just think about them, just how violent they were. You're gonna tell me that he's not gonna have issues at some point,
and then he goes and fights Kevin Lee and then takes a whole bunch of shots again. Yeah. Or Justin Gaethje's career.
Or think about how it wasn't GSP's thing wasn't talked about, where GSP was thinking he was being followed by aliens. He had this It's real.
Yeah, also, like, I don't know if you heard, but Faraz Zahabi said that GSP had a concussion before he fought Dan Hardy.
That's why he was wrestling so much. In that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but we're glad you're taking care of yourself for sure, man.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's just like same, like it's amateur. I'm not professional, and even if you are professional, it's just like, is there? What's the?
Is that because like
what's the?
Is it worth the risk?
Exactly. For St. Pierre fighting Dan Hardy, he's at the top of Canada.
Yeah, top of Canada.
He's a champion. Things like this.
No, and that's the thing.
It's like, okay, I can see the logic behind that.
And then Faraj, like, it was ultimately George's decision, like, to do that, and also, I mean, yeah. He's making.
Well, I'm sure they let him know, like, and we train.
You have to weigh the risk, but like the risk, it's a huge risk because it's your livelihood.
Yeah, and then for me, it's just like, dude, what's taking like 1 month, 2 months off and stuff like that? Yeah. It's like it's nothing. So
for you, there's no real loss because it's not your sole source. It's not a source of income right now.
Yeah,
it's an expenditure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have a job. You have a full-time job.
Yeah, and it's just like, and it's like I'm at that point where it's like, I kind of miss being in the gym. I want to be back in. At the same time, too, it's just like, it's kind of nice being able
to be away. Yeah,
to be away. It's nice to have that. So,
so this is what life is.
Yeah. But if there is that day, I mean, obviously the NFL hasn't lost any steam. They have different controversies to worry about now. Obviously.
Yeah, well, take a knee on that. But anyway.
Yeah, bro. But what do you guys think? I'm asking you to like kind of. Imagine here, what do you think the reaction will be if there's like a big study or something that comes out in terms of MMA fighters? I know there was one in Canada, but here in the U.S., do you think that will have will there be an increase in like regulatory measures, or will it impact the culture? Or
I think people are going to want to do something about it from a regulation standpoint. I know for me, like if something comes out and it says, "Oh look, people have a bunch of brain trauma,"
we wouldn't be surprised.
I'm not going to be surprised.
Yeah,
like,
why?
But I do think that this is my personal opinion, but like I feel like it's not surprising that when you get punched in the face all the time and stuff like
Turns
that.
out it's not healthy for you.
Exactly. But I do think that sometimes if the conversation ends there, it's not the most helpful thing because you're just bringing light to something that a lot of people stuff that a lot of people who are in it kind of already know. But if the conversation okay, this happens, but what can you do to recover? What can how can
what preventative measures?
Recover what preventative measures or what sort of what's great. Okay, we know that this happens. Cool, but what can we do about it?
Giant robots.
Yeah. Or what Pocholo was talking about. It's just the whole awareness that you bring in terms of mental health. Our culture here. We don't do a very good job about talking about the origins of mental health or how to have good self-care when it comes to your brain space. And especially think about just the hyper-aggressive culture that is the UFC.
But I feel like you see that though just in our society in terms of how we have a mental health problem because that shows
crisis, man.
Yeah, it shows there's a lot of people in crisis, and I think it also leads a lot of people into drug use. So I feel like those are two things that are directly related.
For sure.
Because I mean, maybe, but usually it's not a normal person that goes out and commits acts of atrocious violence, and also it's not a balanced person that goes out and then decides to abuse a whole bunch of drugs. So
right,
the way I see it.
For sure. But I'm just interested to well, when these look at, we've talked about this before. I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but my thing with John Jones is when we had Ben on here, we talked about he's an addict, right? He has those tendencies in him. I'm what is the underlying cause that is causing him to be so impulsive and just lack all consideration for the future? You would think someone who was in that position would be you know what? I'm not going to cheat. I can't do that. I mean, I have too much to lose. But there's some mental lapse or some sort of issue going on there that causes him to do these things continually, even with such punitive measures that were taken. So then you ask yourself, was he like that before? Was there issues before that he never dealt with? Or dude, think about, I just thought about this right now, Rampage Jackson.
Yeah.
when he drank all those Red Bulls.
And he went wild and then got arrested in the truck that had his face on it.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden we're just like, oh, well.
Rampage being Rampage. Rampage on a rampage.
You know?
Yeah. But no, I feel, so to address that, I think it's...
Because the UFC's not holding a press conference on, like, what's the status of your mental health? Or going to their top athletes. Or just holding, like... And if they are, that would be fucking awesome. Not that I know of.
Yeah.
But they're not, signs. Things to be aware of. They do it in the NFL now. Actually, I know there was a NFL player that was a preacher at a church I used to go to. His name's Max Strong. And he's a part of, like, this program where they reach out to football players who are, like, struggling with issues surrounding brain trauma. And he told me this scary story where he said he was talking to an athlete, and he's like, it's a famous football player that if I say his name, you all know who I'm talking about. He's sharing this with the church, and he's like, I was talking to him, and the guy was like, yeah, this has been going on to Mac, and then he would stop as he's talking to Mac, the athlete, and then he's like, what's your name again? And I know I'm bad with names, but like, he told him 3 or 4 different times what his name was. He's like, it's me, Mac. And he's like, oh yeah, okay, man. Blah, 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 blah. This is going on with my family. Me and my wife have been getting into fights a lot. Man, what was I talking about? And just to see that, imagine that. And it's crazy. And so that's kind of a measure the NFL's taking. But I can't imagine there's anything like that in the UFC.
Probably not.
Or any discussion about like, and like guys, like you said, for a paycheck, there's guys who are probably just hiding it. Just like, fuck no,
For sure, but back to the John Jones thing and then the Rampage thing. I feel like when you're asking like where does that come from, I feel like part of it has to come that must have been something that happened earlier or like before the fighting. I've for sure the fighting doesn't help it, but I think it's kind of something that I remember Vince and I were discussing, talking about people and delusions, but I feel like some people, just have, and specifically I'm talking about, John Jones and that, I feel it's how founded it is, but I feel like he has to be delusional at some point because of just thinking that he can get away with stuff.
No, 100%.
Like from there, because why he does things that like the driving while intoxicated,
not training for Alexander
Gustafsson, from there hiding from
USADA.
I feel like when he went on the JRE podcast, I think he even said like as far as Alexander Gustafsson, like once he won that, and he scraped by, he won that fight, and he barely trained for it. He was partying until like 1 week before, and he still won. Like I think he even said like he felt like he was invincible or something like that, like on the podcast. He's like, well, I guess I'm the special one. Like something like that.
It's like
it's not the exact words.
It's like those illusions of grandeur, because I feel like that's the thing. Because like Vince and I were talking about how people can be delusional, but I go like, but I feel sometimes like the people who end up being most successful are the ones are the actually I say more often than not are the delusional people who understand that they are delusional and they use that to funnel themselves. Because just think about anything that requires, I guess, a lot of effort, or I guess like are held in prestige.
Dude, are you just talking about Donald Trump right now?
Oh no. But just think about what kind of character would you need to have?
Well, you need to be slightly detached, right?
Yes.
And overly ambitious to a point of
and extremely confident.
And extremely confident, but willing to sacrifice all. So you're just describing a sociopath.
And, yes, exactly. And then like not be responsive to what's actually happening around them.
So there's Jones in that interesting example. Then there's Rampage, and then there's like Thiago Silva.
Yes.
And then
are you aware of that issue?
I feel like I heard something about
Thiago Silva, I believe his ex-wife ended up
sleeping with a Pablo Popovich.
Who was a popular I think jiu-jitsu instructor. But anyway, so Thiago rolls up to Pablo's gym, strapped with I don't know, assault rifles. I want to say, or something like that. As if a 6'2", 240-pound Brazilian man needs to be any more dangerous.
And then you have Lee Murray.
The back. But no, that's the thing. I feel like this is the kind of people that would be attracted to a sport. to that risk, to that kind of risk.
Or even look at like. He doesn't have a criminal record that I'm aware of, but like Garbrandt, like just the fucking...
Well, he has a neck tattoo,
just so short fuse.
It just shows that, I mean, it just shows poor decision making. So,
just losing it, like...
Karos Foder, but
yeah.
I do think, like, taking the conversation back to Jones, though, and just how, like... I don't want to say, like, how crazy he is, but I guess kind of a little bit, like, how crazy in his head he is.
It's true.
Yeah, I feel like that's the reason why he's so confident, though.
Yes.
Because, like, look at, like, when he fought... I remember when he fought Shogun to win the title.
Yeah. He started with a flying knee?
Yeah, because Shogun was the man. It's like, who has the audacity to just open with a flying knee?
A crazy person. Or, I think we were talking about Verdum, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Fabricio... Remember when Fabricio Verdum fought Travis Brown?
And he did that flying...
Yeah, the flying side kick to the face. You go like, who would think about that? A crazy person.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or didn't even think, probably thought, you know what? I'm going to fucking do it. And then he did it.
Exactly.
But that's the thing, though. I feel like people at that high level, especially, I mean, we're using athletics, in terms of fighting. But I feel like if you just look at the people successful in other brands of sports as well, they have to have that... I mean, they have to be slightly delusional in a sense. I remember I was talking with a friend of mine about, people that are successful. And I go like, he goes, came to the conclusion like, you have to be like someone, you're unbalanced to pretty much get to like a legendary like status. Like there was, like popular example, like Michael Jordan was apparently incredibly competitive for almost no reason.
Oh, I think
he would cheat at practice just to win a scrimmage.
Really?
Yeah, and then and it just or he would just gamble. He would have to be gambling, always.
He had a gambling addiction.
Yeah, like still has a gambling addiction, or like they'd be playing golf and go like, $1 million will make this hole like there, and then just
it's like, dude, calm down. You're one step away from sucking dick in the alley.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And this is a highly successful, like a billionaire. It's still having to get that need to get that rush. And it just shows
that makes so much sense. Like the whole. Do you guys see fucking Elon Musk on
Joe? No, I've only heard.
I haven't listened to the whole thing yet. But
anyway, what's your point though, Scott?
Well, it's just like that was a risky fucking move, and I mean a lot of people say it has to do with his PR because he's had a horrible PR for what he said about the divers that rescued those Thai children.
Yes.
Yeah, and his working conditions at the test.
But also, the kind of person would say that.
Exactly. And so someone that is this literally ambitious and is like, well, you know what? I'm just going to start a private space program and we're going to fund all sorts of wild expenditures like shooting cars into space or trying to colonize Mars. Like, you would expect that it's a little crazy, right? And I mean, like that type of ambition, I think, comes with costs. So at the same interpersonal costs are
for sure.
Yeah, or you're not as measured. You know what I mean?
You're not as measured, but I think that's the thing. I think that's kind of what leads people into those positions. Like, I would wager that probably 100% of CEOs are crazy. Like, it's hard for me to see why not, especially if they're part of like a Fortune 500 company, a highly successful company. Because just think about it, that's an unreal amount of power and financial, I guess.
But see, that's what I mean. Is like if you get a bunch of people, we're about to get into politics, and I'm trying.
Here we go.
But think about it, like in terms of like community. I mean, you know me, community collective solutions, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's more democratic. You get a bunch of those fuckers together, and then what do? They get so caught up in the bipolar mania of the market that they crash all of our shit in 2008. And obviously I'm skipping the finer tuned analysis of what actually happened in 2008. But I think what you're talking about was the crux of it.
No, because think about it.
You're just like, go. All right, yep. Okay, what? We're doing these subprime mortgage loans? All right, cool. Incentive to give loans to people that can't pay them back at the bank level? Go. Next thing you know, tank. No. And then what happens? All of us get fucked by it. Yeah.
No, Scott, so this is the way I look at it.
What could fuel that? What potent narcotic would fuel that? It's the potent narcotic
alcohol?
Capitalism. of unrestricted capital. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. No. You see, that's the way I look at it. It's like, look at, let's say, like let's look at like an average, like, car, or let's like an average sedan. Like, let's look at like a Civic.
Let's look at that Honda out there. What fucking crazy guy driving that?
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah. Like, oh man, I see a busted Honda Civic.
There's a duct tape on it and the bumper's falling off.
Right. Let's take a look at that. Or let's say there's like...
We'll look back on that, but go ahead.
But anyway, no, so look at like a factory-made car that's, sold to like a bunch of people. Mm-hmm. That's like, okay, it probably moves, pretty average speed, right? Or let's take a look at like a souped-up, NASCAR that's like, that's built for one thing, speed, right? Mm-hmm. And then like, how practical is it to drive every day? Not at all. It probably wouldn't survive. But it's like in that... It's like it's sacrificing a lot of utility just to get high performance, like, from there. I feel like that's what a lot of people are or like, I'm talking about just in terms of like bringing it back to people, mm-hmm. is that they're sacrificing a lot of quote unquote like normal things to get to a certain point.
Because I mean,
and I'm not saying that that's good at all, because it can crash and burn for sure. But it's like, So, but it's that, I think once again it's that risk though, because I feel like the people, it's almost the same kind of people that can, I feel that are willing to make that risk to make the greatest good in the world. I think they're also have the most potential to do the most damage.
No, well, the other thing too is there's this book called Strangers Drowning.
Okay.
And it talks about the moral dilemma of the people who want to change the world.
Yes.
And the moral dilemma of standing on a sidewalk and looking over into a river bank and seeing your loved one drowning and then 2 children. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you do? And so it's like you get caught in this dilemma, and it starts out with that premise, but then what it does is it launches into this whole analysis of like, can you help and harm at the same time? And that's what that thought experiment was about initially. Because if you were to save one, you're by default harming the other. You get what I'm saying? Right? What is it?
The trolley.
The trolley exercise.
What is the trolley exercise?
Well, there's 2 people. There's, I think, 4 people tied to one set of tracks and 2 to another, and then there's a switch you can throw, and it's like, what are you going to choose?
Oh, it's like a superhero movie. Yeah.
So, and if you'll notice this too, because I've been, I've worked in in civil law litigation. I've been around trial attorneys that take amazing cases and sue like corrupt police departments. You'll notice the ambition and just the drive is very similar to what you would expect from like a Jeff Bezos or someone who just... Do you know what they say about Bezos is this guy just crushes the competition.
Yeah.
He is a dogged businessman. He's dogged. It's not... There's no like compromise. That's why he can hold an entire city hostage. It's like, oh, you want to... This taxation is bad for business. Yeah. Which, that's the truth.
Yeah, there's no compromise.
It's bad for business. It's like, no, we're shutting it down. Yeah. No, period. And so you'll notice that that's there too. So I'm not saying it's bad, but when you don't step back and consider your own motives, you can end up trying to change the world but harming more people. Yeah. Think about any project. Think about
any ambition thing, because like that's the thing. It can be, it's like fire. It can be used, to help you, or it can also like burn you.
Yeah, and it's crazy. It's like look at McGregor, right? Like
yes.
I could see McGregor running like a fortune. Yeah. Not knowing shit. Not knowing jack shit about like, overhead or like what's a successful commodity to put on the market, but just by sheer... It's like fucking...
It's like sheer force of will and charisma, because people will follow him. But that's the thing, man. I feel like as... If you want to dial it back, I feel like that's what humans... in terms like look towards to, because they'll look for, in times of, I guess, survival, that's what they needed. They needed like a leader, quote unquote.
Yeah, you're talking about the big man societies, like they followed after the hunter gatherers kind of topped out. Have you heard of the big man society?
I haven't, no.
So, scattered throughout, like when we were landlocked and we were like hunter gatherer. A stage of evolution. There came a point where we had started agriculture and were stationary in one particular area, and because that population's boomed, massive amounts of resources were accumulated. I don't have like a particular time for when this happened, but what started to happen is figures rose out of this because there was more stationary time.
I see.
So different type of religious beliefs were cultivated, and there was always one type of person that rose out and would accumulate most of the wealth just through things like articulation, or they may have been a shaman or whatever.
Like there's something that they were doing. Like maybe they saw the world in a different way, something like that.
Exactly, and then they were able to, not through production, but through just that type of, in certain societies, accumulate all this.
Like that was the value that they provided to society, was whatever sort of outlook or view
or promise.
Or how, something like that.
And that's why some people believe today, like Trump was considered for a lot of disenfranchised, alienated, former Rust Belt Midwest workers, is considered the big man. Mm-hmm. He came in, the guise of successful business. His businesses have been failures largely, but just because of that big man persona and that power, people just fucking gravitated to him. That's one analysis, But yeah, we got there, and you see it. It's everywhere. It's like, it has a lot to do with our economic system and how we've just accepted how we relate to one another. And to go tie it back to martial arts, I think that's what's pure when competition's removed, when you just have like the community we have at AMC. It's like people just help each other. We don't really question it. We're like, I'll help you get better. And there's still weird like interactions and maybe people we don't even know that we've alienated because maybe we deem them to be awkward, or that happens in a community. But
I think especially like I noticed one thing, like for me, like working in tech, is that there's certain people that are in technology that you see more. The company I work for there's people that have very different backgrounds than you would expect, which is interesting. I like that, but it's interesting. And then at a fight gym, it's just like, there's a lot of big personalities there, or just a lot of very unique.
Of course, you would walk in, right?
Yeah, a bunch of crazy people. So in the best possible way.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a cluster. It's a cluster of quote unquote unbalanced people.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, speaking of unbalanced people, so Vincent. It has to be like we got back about this conversation. So, do you see yourself, I guess, like fighting again?
That's a good question. I think the answer that I would say right now is it's too early to say.
It's like a wait and see on how
your
health is.
Yeah, it's like one of those things. Like if health wasn't a concern, like at all, then for sure.
Okay.
I think that's the one thing. But we'll see. I kind of feel like I know the answer right now, but it's like we'll wait and see.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, you want to hold off on that.
Yeah.
So you don't want it recorded. So remember that time on September 9th, 2018.
At about 4:30.
Well, yeah, that Vincent Lee was definitely gonna fight.
Yeah.
But no, for sure. But I think that's the thing. I think back to I think what we're trying to get to, we're talking about, delusions. I think, with our conversation and the conversation, that Scott input, I feel like how a person sees the world is really going to affect how they live their life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I feel it's like there's got to be, a balance has to come. Whether it's like the person themselves providing that balance or the world eventually will
just the material reality, just like
exactly.
We'll
just go, hey, it's not gonna.
Yeah, no, you can't push in this direction.
That's not gonna happen. But I feel I know it's definitely an interesting thing, just in terms of the martial arts and preparing for fights and all that, because it's that what I guess it brings the question, what comes first. Right? Is it like your intention to do martial arts and then you end up getting the benefits, or is the benefit like realizing, what's extracted from your activities from there? But I feel it's like, because I think that's kind of what you're trying to get to, Scott. Like how do you get that? How do you get like, I guess, the benefits without the risk of it?
Yeah, I just think it's based on your perspective, but I think we all got into it because we wanted it to be a vehicle for something much larger. Whether we articulate it or not, it's like, for me, it's like, traditional. This is how I think especially in this country, but like throughout my life, I'm 30 years old, but the traditional institutions, the education, the religious, the political, all those things have not given me the internal answers that I've been seeking.
Or support.
Some political theories and ideologies have given me a mass amount of ideas and ways of viewing the world that I'm like, no, I've thought of like that for a long time. But martial arts in particular gives a different set of questions followed with a different set of answers about you as a person, but then how you interact with your community around you. And that's why I'm hoping the evolution of martial arts is something that expands throughout this package it's been put in. It's such a powerful fucking tool. What you did when you fought, that's a powerful... And I sound like Joe Rogan, but it's like
powerful.
It's a
powerful watch.
Yeah.
Scott McDonald.
It's a powerful. Yeah.
No. But not to diminish your message, but it's true.
But to put it and just let it kind of sit there without it being utilized for different sets of objectives, it's just kind of like a waste. You know?
Well, and I think it's one of those things too, where it's like it is whatever you make it out to be. Mm-hmm. Like one thing I was reading about.
What it is, Max Holloway.
Yeah, I was reading. I haven't finished this book, and it's not the most complicated or I feel like even in depth book.
It's like green eggs and ham.
But in it, Sam I am. I think it was a book. I think Hidaro Kano wrote it. He was the founder of judo.
Okay.
And he was writing about he's the founder of judo, but he was credited for like essentially taking Japanese jiu-jitsu and turning it into judo. And part of that was taking away a lot of the dangerous aspects out of it. If that makes sense. And turning it into a sport, or turning it into something where people...
make it more of like a competition kind of thing, like stripping away like...
So it's something
wasn't Japanese jiu-jitsu, wasn't that meant for like unarmed samurai fighting?
Yeah, I think so. And I think there's also, I didn't realize this, there was also like, jiu-jitsu had like a negative reputation in Japan at that time.
Oh, really?
It was associated with like gangsters, and I think samurai at that time too maybe weren't considered the most positive. So like there was this negative association, so it was like, one thing that I took away from it, and it's a simple, stupid thing, but just actually saying that this was a conscious thing on his part, was just purposely, like, taking jiu-jitsu and turning it into something that could be more better for society. Even if, like it kind of, for me, it was like, oh, like, is there, like, any... Sometimes people look at the world and say, like, oh, maybe that there's one truth, and this is it. And then there's maybe another way, it's just like, well, you can make truth whatever you want it to be, to a certain extent. And so the fact that he was just like, well, we're going to take this, which was designed for this, and just turn it into something completely different, and this is what the truth of it is now. I was like, oh, okay, interesting. Like,
so it's like altering truth.
A little bit. That's kind of how I took it, even though maybe that's diving a little bit deeper than what was intended, but that's kind of how I took it a little bit.
Okay.
So.
Well, no, it's interesting because for me, it transformed me, you know. And I think there's a lot of stories out there where that was the case. Yeah. And when we say abstract things like, we'll be a martial artist, like, what is the actual purpose and function of being a martial artist?
Yeah.
Outside of going to the gym and just practicing your craft, what is your responsibility as a martial artist? And I don't know if we've defined that. Because in this, I'm sure in different cultures it's different, but I feel like in this society, when you say MMA, some people don't even say that acronym. They say a different acronym. They just like, or you do UFC. UFC. And for that to have entered the collective consciousness, it really obscures like a deeper meaning and a deeper function of what I think martial arts serves, which is a definite social function. Mm-hmm. It's a social sport. You can't do it. You can't be like the samurai who trained by himself. That's not realistic.
Yeah.
That's just a story. You train with comrades, in camaraderie, with one another. Mm. And you exchange philosophies, and you exchange techniques, and you grow. And I think the goal is to create that in the broader society through that as a vehicle. And it's just like, but we don't talk about it that way. It's just like, oh, yeah, this is just what I do. It's a hobby, but it's I don't know if it's been watered down or what. And for me, it requires more explanation to really get to like the root of it.
I'm not sure if it's watered down. I think the thing of it, Scott, is that it's hard to break into it. You know what I mean? Because it's a very humbling experience, and that's something that most people just in this generation, I mean, can't really handle. Mm-hmm. That kind of think about all the things that it takes. That kind of adversity for one, the kind of dedication it takes, and then also just the difficulty of it. Really. It's like,
but it's so communal because it's like, think about what we described in terms of like the fight team. Mm-hmm. There's a goal, an obstacle that you train for, and it's your responsibility to do certain things, but you're supported all the way up until the ultimate obstacle, and then whether it's victory or failure, you fall back on another. Yeah. That's not as present out in the rest of the world.
For sure.
It's like try or fail, and then the failure for other things is just it's like, no, it's just complete survival of the fittest, dogginess. And while fighting mocks that in a way, there's still a cultural thing behind it that's really powerful, you know?
Yeah. I think there's something about preparing for... Probably, I mean, I guess athletics events in general. I imagine fighting maybe a little... I'm biased, but like fighting maybe a little different because it's more intense. Mm-hmm. But where it's like... I had this idea from the fight because there's almost like this... you know, getting ready for it is like, it's whatever, but it's this kind of slow build of intensity. And it reaches this apex on fight night. Mm-hmm. And then there's this dramatic just intensity just completely goes away. Mm-hmm. And how... I kind of feel like there's this idea that I had of like maybe like stuff like that is maybe because there's something about that for me that was just very, I don't know, like spiritually healthy. I feel like where you just like you go through this intense thing that slowly mm-hmm. builds and there's all this doubts, insecurity, questions, and stuff that happens and mm-hmm. it happens, whatever happens. But after that, just calm.
Right.
Yeah. There's just a calm.
But it's like it's not in a vacuum though. What is that experience without the collective, though, is what I'm saying.
I see what you're... Yeah.
Because you could certainly prepare on your own.
Yeah.
Compete on your own. Not have a corner. Mm-hmm. But when I say that, it's like your brain goes, "That's fucking ridiculous."
Yeah. But that happens.
Not
great.
Yeah, but it's just it's the whole multitude.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Well, and I think for me, like I wouldn't be able to have such. Like my outlook has definitely been affected by having like just a positive team around me.
For sure.
Stuff like that. That's like I feel like the one thing, or one of the things that AMC that I've really appreciated is there's a lot of good examples, if that makes sense. And mm-hmm. and I think everyone's a good example. Everyone's a good example, but like they in different ways. There's certain things that I personally pull from people. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. But yeah, I think the community aspect's big. So it's a big thing.
Because I'm like, if you don't have that, like, what do you have in terms of functioning as a martial artist?
Yeah, or just functioning as a person.
As a person, really, yeah.
So I think most people, they just, I mean, we tend to like social interaction that's positive. Mm-hmm. So like, I think most people, like, think about like the
social creatures.
Yeah, and like the happiest times of your life, they tend to be around other people.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Stuff like that. So, yeah. So I don't know. I think for me, I'm not surprised that like. For me, like the things one of the things I like about the sport so much is just being in the gym and being around other people, joking around, helping each other get better, mm-hmm. things
the
like that.
The community and the camaraderie of it.
Yeah, that's a big thing. So,
yeah.
Powerful.
Vince
McDonald.
I'm like, why does he do that?
I think that concludes it, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
I mean,
good?
This was powerful for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Thanks for joining us. Red button again. Thank you, Jesse.
Thanks, Jesse.